Are they still playing your song? And I got an exclusive interview today, man. Tyler, I don't want to mess up your last name. Uh,
Riles.
Riles. Okay, look at that. But to say that you're a ex CEO is an understatement. So I'm gonna read off your credentials, bro. Oh, my glasses. I'm pretending I'm not an old man. All right.
Oh, I got contacts in myself. I'm a young man. I can't see, so don't feel bad.
Okay. So you started at Telfair State Prison in 2014 at the age
Yeah,
of 18?
yeah, actually, I hadn't even been 18, but a few months. I turned 18 in June, and I started in September.
Wow.
So
So did you have other family members that were a part of the team, or how did you get into it?
no, I went to the Department of Labor to look for job applications, and that's the
Uh,
first thing that came up on the screen, and it was like zero experience required. We get you 12, whatever, it was like 12.70 an hour or something like that, which was
wow.
decent for the time.
Yeah.
And I had just tried to enlist in the Marine Corps and got denied. All through my senior year of high school, that's what I planned on doing. I was going in the Marine Corps and that was going to be my thing. But when I went to MEPS after I graduated, I found out I had some hearing loss in my left ear.
Uh-huh.
So they denied me for that reason. And then when I sent my waiver up to try to get entered in anyway, it got denied. And then that was just first option. I was like, okay, well, I got to go get a job,
Do
and
something.
that was just the first thing that came up, and I put in for it, and went from there.
Okay.
But no, I
So
didn't have any family. My father did work in corrections in the early 2000s at a
uh-huh.
boot camp, and
Yeah.
then he worked at Dodge for like 8 9 months. Uh, but that was when I was a little child.
Okay. So I also have that you graduated with honors from BCOT in November 2014.
Yes, yes. The funny story behind that,
Uh,
when I was in high school and all, I never tried really that much in school. School just wasn't really my thing. Like I
uh,
was just ready to get out of there.
yeah.
But when I started at the prison, there was one shift that had excellent people on it, and they were just so professional, and I liked working with them, and I knew this was the best shift. And they told us like, hey, if you make honor graduate, you get to pick your shift. And
Mhm.
with BCOT, it's kind of hard to make honor graduate because you got to
What
make
is
a 95.
BCOT? What's BCOT?
Basic correctional officer training.
Okay.
So it's like basic for correctional officers.
Gotcha.
And if you at the time, if you was an honor graduate, you got to pick your shift. So
Okay.
that was my thing. Like, okay, I know what shift I want to go to, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this thing. So
Okay. And okay, so you recruited to the split shift escort team for tier in December 2014.
yeah, as soon as I got back, and that's the crazy thing about it, I did all that to make sure I could pick my shift,
Yeah.
and I didn't never even get to touch that shift, man. I was on that shift for 2 days, and I got recruited to the escort team, which is a good thing, looking back. Like it got me out of the shift environment into like a specialized role. So it was good. But yeah, I pretty much immediately from BCOT started on the escort team and the tier.
Yeah.
So and that's what I
So
did as my
what is that?
CO time.
What is the escort team? What are your responsibilities with the escort?
Well, nowadays they don't have one anymore, but it used to be like when in the tier units and stuff, which is like the lockdowns, what people call the hole,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. The escort team was there Monday through Friday. You had one in each building who helped the officer with all the showers, all the yard, all the feeding, all the
Hmm.
cell clean out, sanitation,
Uh-huh.
getting them ready for inspection. You assisted the officer that was on post in the building because there's supposed to be two officers there anyway when you're escorting.
Right.
Had restrained inmates and stuff for yard and stuff like that. And I was on the tier two program, so I mean these guys they needed a lot. I mean they needed everything. We had to do everything for them.
Yeah.
To take everything to the room. This was before they started letting inmates, orderlies and stuff feed and all.
Yeah.
Like we did everything down there. Like the orderlies would help us like um put the trays on the cart and stuff, and they might help us push. Like I might have my orderly pushing the cart, but I mean back during this time it was still where the officer did every bit of this stuff. So we was there to assist during the weekdays when there was the most movement in lockdown.
Gotcha. Okay, so you were awarded with Security Employee of the Quarter by TSP. TSP, I guess that's Telfair State Prison.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And
That's
then
a institutional award. So that was for the prison, for Telfair State Prison. It's a thing that they do. They award one person from each department
oh,
with a reward every quarter. And I got that when I was still CO1. I was working in the tier program and stuff, but I got that when I was still CO1.
okay. And let's see. PSCO went to the second quarter. Was accepted into the ERT in December.
Yes,
What's ERT, bro? Oh, he got
CERT,
a lot of stuff.
emergency response team. Um, so it's actually with corrections. It's called CERT. So it's CERT, Correctional
Okay, the search
Emergency
team.
Response Team. The
Okay,
CERT team. Yeah. Mhm.
okay, bro. I didn't even see all this stuff right here. You got a whole resume. Let me go to my. That's bro. I just saw that first part. You like a little baby Rambo off in this bitch. Okay,
Hey, I got turned loose, and when I first started, especially at Telfair, like I was under good people that tried to make the best of their employees and tried to encourage um forward striving. So that had a lot to do with it. I had people that was like, "Hey, look, like you can do this thing. Like this is what you need to do. You need to do this, this, and this." And I was a young man. I this was like my first real thing where it's like I got this thing and this is my thing and this is what I do. So I took it real seriously,
right.
and I did everything what I thought I should do, to make sure I was successful.
Okay. You graduated BCOT with honors. What values or expectations did they instill in you about like what
Um,
being a correctional officer was supposed to mean?
my BCOT was very good. The main thing I would just say as far as BCOT is they did instill in me the three basics that go with correctional work in general, which is just fair, firm, consistent.
Okay.
And that was I can sum up the whole thing with that. Hey, you're being taught that this is what you're here to do. You're here to be an officer. You're here to enforce these policies. You're here to make sure the sanitation is good. You're here to, we go through all the stuff in BCO2, or at least we did when I went through, and that was the main thing. But as far as corrections, that's the main thing as far as being a correctional officer, just knowing that, hey, look, like you're gonna have to be justful in what you're doing here
Okay.
and be consistent across the board and be fair in what you're doing. Because unlike with law enforcement on the street, it's like you're dealing with the same guys every day for years and years on end.
Right.
So reputation and respect and people knowing, like, it's very important for me, especially if I'm established on a compound, especially if I'm in a role like a supervisor or something.
Right.
Like it's important for whoever inmate that I'm talking to know that when I tell him something, whatever it is, whether I'm going to help you or whether I'm about to lock you up if you keep acting like you are, whatever
Yeah.
the situation is, like it's really important that he knows like that I'm telling the truth, like that I'm here to do whatever it is that I say I'm here to do.
Uh-huh.
And I'll tell you what that is. I'll tell you my expectations, and you have the choice after that as to whether or not you're gonna comply with it or not.
Gotcha.
You know.
Okay, so you were promoted pretty quickly, the youngest ERT commander in Telfast history. What
Yes.
leadership qualities or mindset help you rise so fast?
Um Willing to humble myself and do small things that needed to be done and just constantly be at the prison. I mean, I pretty much lived in the prisons, man, for for years, especially when stuff started getting short because and stuff was really already short. They were already complaining about stuff being short like when I started.
And
So just for example,
this was before COVID.
yes, yes, yeah. This is way before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, we still had a decent amount of staff. Looking back now at what I seen in the later years, but
Hmm.
at the time, I mean, we had our problems and stuff, and we had situations where, hey, somebody. It would be better if somebody stayed 5 hours later that day.
Right.
On first team, because especially when you're talking about cert teams and stuff, we used to be split up into two teams. So you had a team come in at 4:30 in the morning, and you had a team come in at 10. And just say when I was on the first one, if something big was going on, then I would volunteer a lot of times to say, hey, if somebody's got to stay, I'll stay. Which I kind of looked at it at the time as a thing like, look, I don't have children.
Yeah.
I'm 18, 19, 20, whatever it is. Like these guys got children. Like when stuff like that comes up, like I would just usually think about that and think about that I wanted the experience and wanted to be able to be successful in this field. So I volunteer for a lot of stuff, you know.
Okay. So for people who don't know, can you explain the just the daily duties of the CERT team? Because my perception of the CERT team, they got on all just when I would mind you, it's been 19 years since I was in prison. And if the CERT
Mhm.
team show up, somebody's going to the hole. It's a possible ass whipping. Uh, but there's a different kind of respect that comes along with the CERT team. It's not, and there's no disrespect to the other officers, but when the CERT team comes, it's gonna be
Yeah, it's
it's
different.
something going on.
Yeah, it's time to get to attention, you know, because we're here for business. You know, we're not here to just do whatever. But as far as like the duties of a certain member,
Uh huh.
the main thing is to keep order of the prison. So that's why, like, at least when I was in anyway, and what we had going on in the effective teams that I was on and commanded is strategically place members on the sidewalk to just make sure that people don't start getting crowded up in locations because that's when you get big fights and stuff that break out. And
Right.
a fight breaking out on the sidewalk is a little different than the dorm because it's just so much area to cover and people start running and it gets real hectic. So that's number one thing is just use these people in strategic positions across the compound to control areas that are high traffic and just make sure that nothing like that is happening where people are gathering up. Also running cell census. So that
Mhm.
was a thing that if it's been 19 years, then you didn't even see those things, did you? The little towers that we put up outside the building that scan you when you come out to make sure that you don't have like knives and stuff like that on you.
Nah.
Yeah. So we had that and it worked. We at Telfair the whole time I was there, it was very rare that we would have stabbing on the sidewalk
Okay.
because we had CERT team members at strategic points on the sidewalk with these metal detectors essentially that and the inmates will come by and it'll get if they had a shank on them, if it was metal anyway, it would go off and we could search them and then we could get that off the sidewalk.
Got
The sidewalk was pretty safe at Telfair, um,
it.
up
And
until things started getting short.
Telfair is a
And
what level security is Telfair at that time?
it's level 5.
Level 5.
Level 5, but at this time, it's non-mental health. So, Telfair during the first 3-year stint that I did, it was, level 5,
Mhm.
but 0 health. So, not even mental health level 2s, nothing to that extent. We didn't have a mental health department at all,
Okay.
but it was level 5.
Got you. Okay. So when you mentioned things started getting really bad, what specifically began to change inside Georgia prisons?
Um, the As far as across the board, we started losing officers, which that was always a problem,
Hmm.
from what I understand, with keeping officers in that type of environment, which it can be a stressful environment to be in. I'm sure if you've been in prison yourself, then you know that
Yeah.
I'm sure it's stressful to be in it, even more from y'all's perspective. So
Right.
it's sometimes things can get hectic and it can get uh, wild, so to speak. So it's hard to keep people in anyway. And then we had a lot of things going on that we're dealing with corruption where a lot of people will get caught up at one time. Like that's when I went to Valdosta. That's how the whole thing happened with me going to Valdosta was a big thing that happened there where they had a ring of staff members that were personal dealing and doing other things that got caught up and it was management and other people that was involved in it as well. And so the management of the prison went downhill. And then it's usually after incidents like this
Uh-huh.
that things go down a step and then these people start getting left on post for 2 days at the time and stuff because this is when we wouldn't just abandon posts
Right.
like we're doing now. There
Yeah.
was no such thing in this during this era as we're just going to leave the building
Yeah.
completely abandoned, like
Yeah.
that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So once the officers started doing these doubles and stuff like that, it's like a lot of people that have children and things like this, it runs them away from it. They say, hey, look, I'm not doing this anymore. If y'all can't get me relieved, then I'm not doing it anymore. And we had many people that left, mainly because of that. But then we had corruption things, and then we had sometimes where maybe a bad warden would come in and make the compound get really dangerous. by just slacking on security measures and
Mm,
slacking on disciplinary measures, and people that were used to an orderly environment and were used to some sense of safety, it turns them off of that because they know that it don't have to be like this.
right.
You know, the people that's been there for years and years and they have seen things run correctly and that have seen a prison where it's not like this, where it's not all chaos. It's
Yeah.
like it's more stressful sometimes for those people to be involved in these situations than it is for new people because
Yeah.
the new people they don't know no different. You know, they just this is just what they see. But
Hmm.
the people that have a lot of experience, you know, they see and then they think, dang man, it don't have to be this way.
Right.
It just takes a few simple things for it not to be this way. And you know, when you got people that's going against that, that's above you, then you just kind of run into a problem of authority, essentially. You know, so that happened at some prison. It's multifaceted. You know, initially getting short, but then once you started getting short, like I say, it was just a snowball effect because people were getting left in there. I mean, I did an interview with a lady, with two ladies actually, yesterday,
Uh,
and one of them did 72 hours at a hospital post in Valdosta. 72 hours straight on shift.
mm.
It's like, man, that's wild. That's unacceptable.
Why do you think that this neglect on from a managerial perspective is taking place? I mean,
I think it has more to do with just not wanting to admit that you need help, you know. Because in my mind, I've never been a warden, so I can't, you know, I'm not trying to say that, hey, I've been a warden and I can make these decisions, but at a certain point, I mean, you have to ask for help. Like you can't just leave your officers there for
yeah,
that long because you're losing them. You know,
right,
even if they're good officers that are dedicated to the cause, like it doesn't take but a few times of that happening to you
right.
before you start thinking, man, I have to look for different options. You know? And that's what these people did.
So, so let's say you're at Telfair, and then something
Hmm.
goes on at Valdosta, and they need you there.
Hmm.
Does that mean that your pay increases, or you?
Yeah. Well, I went on a promotion to Valdosta. So when I was a cert commander at Telfair, I made sergeant at Telfair in 2016, and then I was on shift for a few months, and then the cert commander position came up, and I ended up getting that. So that's how I got to be the cert commander at Telfair. But I was still a sergeant.
Right.
So then when all that happened at Valdosta, a guy that was essentially mentoring me at the time or whatever, like a lieutenant at Telfair at the time, went as their captain.
Okay.
And it was a thing like where I was told by leadership, like, hey, look, you know, this is a real opportunity if you want to take it. Like, this is a very dangerous camp right now. Like, things are not going good down there.
Yeah.
They just had met some bunch of management get fired, and then they had some CERT members that got fired and locked up behind a bad use of force. And there was a lot of stuff that had happened about also during that year of
Yeah.
2017. So it was like a thing where I was told, look, you're young, you have the experience, you're doing good. Like, there's lieutenant's positions open because there
Right.
was like 5 lieutenant's positions open
Yeah.
after this incident. So
Oh, this
I didn't have any children, so I was like, all right, you know, I'll do it. Let's go.
that's a
I took
lot
about
of people. You saying the search team, and you saying lieutenant. What happened at Valdosta during this time?
I hate to say exactly because I hate to get it wrong.
Uh huh.
It was several different things. It wasn't that all were involved with the same thing.
Okay.
You had a couple that got caught bringing contraband, and then you had a couple that got caught with the use of a bad use of force, and you had another that got caught with like one of the one of the people that was high up in management. That it might have been the deputy warden or the captain. I don't want to say 100% because it's been so long ago, but
Yeah.
one of them got caught up with a female that they wasn't supposed to be sleeping with that worked there, one of their
Um.
subordinates, you know. So that was it was like multifaceted thing that just
Right.
happened, and a lot of people got gone in a short period of time,
Yeah.
you know, about us.
So, with a person that has a legitimate job that is a CO, what would
Mhm.
entice them to, just based on the fact that they work at a prison or a correctional institution and they see what jail is like, you see what prison is like, you understand firsthand what could possibly take place. What would encourage or entice them to risk their freedom for a couple of bucks? Or I don't know how much money it is, but what would entice an individual to cross that line?
I mean, I wish I could be there and hear these conversations and see how it kind of comes up
Uh-huh.
because it hasn't really. Now I ain't gonna say that I haven't been offered stuff
Right.
and that I hadn't had chances to where I could have personal deal, but it wasn't a thing to where it came up very often. I guess just because of the way I operated and stuff. But
Right.
I think a lot of that really has to do with just our proclivity as humans to want to go along with the crowd,
Okay.
and these people, they get down there, they get like I was saying before, you're not dealing with different people every day. This is the same people every day. So if somebody's really good at talking,
Yeah.
which some people are,
Yeah.
then they can learn your habits, and they can learn what it is that you like, and these things, and they can use that to kind of be friendly, and then it goes from there. I think most of the time, and that's been the case with most of the interviews that I've done, because I mean I've helped catch dirty staff, a bunch of times, as because I've been the cert commander, at 3 prisons, and that's another thing that we are heavily involved in. So you got that, but then also you got people that come with that intent anyway. You know,
Well,
it's not that hard to say. It's not that hard to say. Let's say that I'm a guy that's locked up, and I got a cell phone, and I'm talking with a girl on the street, and she ain't got no criminal record. It's not hard for me to say, hey, look, make
oh, good
sure that
job.
you're not friends with me on no kind of social media. Come put in a job up here, and you're gonna infiltrate, like some spy type stuff. And
Gotcha.
I mean, you have that happen too. So
Okay.
sometimes they come in with that intention, and other times they just get caught up in the games, the manipulation of that. And I mean, the money is enticing, I'm sure, because I mean they do. Contraband has a higher value in prison,
Right.
no doubt. So like tobacco is 1,000% marked up or more,
That's crazy.
and then it
You
goes
know,
it goes beyond that. So I mean, if somebody is really willing to do whatever for money,
mhm.
then I mean you're going to have the opportunity to do it in the prison.
When
So,
I was there, they actually sold tobacco on the store.
and I think they should, and I think they should.
Why
Me
do you think
personally,
they took it off though?
they took it off from what I heard because they took it off in 2010, and I didn't start till 2014. So it was
Oh,
already had been gone a few years when I started. But from what I was told, it was stopped because a guy won a lawsuit in
mm,
Georgia that was
good.
saying that, hey, they let the inmates smoke in the building because even when they had the cigarette, you were supposed to go
Supposed to
out
go
on break anyway.
outside.
You
Yep.
supposed to go outside,
Yep. They said
And
if
I
you
guess
got them
the
smoking,
inmate had sued and said that he got lung cancer from secondhand smoke, and then that was a
uh,
big thing. And then the state was like, oh well, no,
you
no tobacco because we don't want to be liable for somebody getting lung cancer. And it's like,
mm,
dude, that caused a lot of
it
stuff
created a
because
black market.
yeah, you created a whole black market where tobacco, just something that's completely legal to have on the street,
Yeah.
has now became a highly valuable commodity inside of the prison.
Mm,
So it was set up to fail from the beginning with that,
yeah.
from what I can tell. But
In your earlier days, what's something that you seen that made you realize that, hey man, this is not TV and this is not a movie. This is real life.
uh man, it didn't take long at Telfair, I'll tell you. When I was a cadet, right?
Yeah.
I went down to C building. I was with this other officer. This might have been like my third or fourth day there. It was within the first week.
Uh,
And me and the other officer sitting there, and she's signing some people out on the other side. And I'm looking at this guy over here. There's a guy at the other sally port, and he reaches his hand out, and another dude passes him a shank. And then he turns around and goes over there and passes it to somebody on the yard because
yeah.
we're right here in front of the yard.
Yeah.
So this guy passed the shank out, and I'm looking at him. He looks at me. He's like, better not say nothing. And I'm like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So I told the officer, I went to the officer, I was like, hey, this dude just passed a shank out here on the yard, man. Something about to happen.
Yeah.
And then they called the search team and all, they got him out there, and then I was like, oh, he's gonna tell type of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of helps you from an officer perspective
Yeah.
with reputation because I don't want the inmate to think that I ain't gonna tell about something like that.
Right. Right.
Because then, like I say, you set up a bad type of situation. Like I want him to know that if he does something like that in front of me, then I'm not gonna I'm not gonna just be silent about it and let somebody get stabbed. That ain't what
Right.
I'm here for.
Right.
But
Hey,
yeah, that it was pretty early, and then I got spit on and like got in a big use of force with a guy my first day back from BCOT, so like
what happened
I
with
got
that? What happened with that?
I was just a new officer, man. I was 18, and this guy, he was one of the GF guys that had been on tier for a long time already, anyway. And he was high ranking with that. And I guess he just didn't want me to be the one that was escorting him.
Yeah,
He probably was just in a bad mood. Like we got along real good after this incident, but
right.
like I say, this is my first day back. He don't know me, nothing. He gets out of the shower, and I put my hand on his arm to escort him. Right?
Yeah,
He's like, "Oh, you can't escort me. You ain't got enough rank," type of thing. And he's bowing up, and I'm like, "Nah, man, it ain't going down like this." And he's telling me to let him go, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm not gonna let you go." And
yeah.
then we start spinning around, and then he spits on me, and then my fellow officer like gets in between us and pushes him back, and it kind of ended like that. Like it didn't get too far out of hand, but I mean he did get me right in the face with the spit, man. That was the
Um,
first time that had ever happened to me in my life, and it was a shock. I was like, this
did,
dude really just spit in my face,
did,
you know.
does
But
an come along with that? How is that story in?
does what?
There's an ass whooping come along with you getting spit in your face.
Well, like I say, that was my first little encounter, and I was
Yeah,
a 1 day in. So I mean, I in the whole situation, like I was worried, like, am I about to get in trouble? Like, should I let him go? Like, what's
yeah,
going like what should I do here?
yeah.
And then he didn't spit on me until right there at the end, and then the other officer came in, and we were on the range and all that. And he was in handcuffs too, So I mean, no, there ain't no butt whooping come behind it. But I mean, he got put
Okay,
on the ground. We put him on the ground and held him down and picked him up and towed him to the room and all that. But he was in handcuffs,
okay.
when all this happened.
So you're there fairly early. Is it already considered to be gangland when you get there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, so it's full blown.
Man, it's like 80% of the population is are gang members at this point already when I start.
Wow.
You had buildings like C&D building, it was not like you couldn't go in there if you was a civilian. They had a few that was like old school civilians,
Yeah.
that was in there. Like we had one guy that he went by the name Cracker Jack, and he was an old school guy that was from Macon that had been locked up for a long time. He stayed in there. And there was a few others, but other than that, C&D building was nothing but Bloods and GDs and a few Crips and some Muslims and stuff like that. Like it was everybody was affiliated that was in those buildings, and then the
So
other buildings
what is life like for a person who has no affiliation?
in the chain gang
Yeah.
in the prison.
And yeah,
Um,
specifically
they get
what you were at.
At Telfair, if you had no affiliation, then usually they would have jobs of some sort, and they would be working to try to get to A or H or G building, one of these other buildings that was kind of more laid back, that had older population in it and things like that. I mean, there was places that they go, and they could have went in C&D, but the thing is, like most people wouldn't because they already knew what was up. Like they knew it was going to be too much problem to be
Yeah.
in there with that many gang members and you by yourself, like even if you can handle your business, like it doesn't matter if 5 people roll up on you, it don't matter how bad you are,
Right.
so that they just self-preserve and just kind of stay out of those areas. So I don't know what year it got like that, but it was already like that when I came in 2014, as far as like we had a very large gang population at Telfair.
Got you. And is there a gang that had a considerable amount of numbers as
Yeah.
what gang?
Yeah, it was pretty much neck and neck with Bloods and GDs,
Right.
but the GDs pretty much stayed on top. I would say. I mean, the stuff like that. It's like we don't know, but so much like they know what's going on with that world more than we do most of the time. But
Mhm.
I would say that the GDs had the more numbers, but it was about neck and neck. Like we would have probably 300 GDs and maybe 280 Bloods or something like that at the count. Something like that, somewhere
Man,
in
that's
there.
a lot
So
of
it'd usually be it when I first started. It would usually be around between the 250 to 300 mark of each of those two, Blood and
yeah.
GD. That's what we had the most of was Blood and GD. But
Okay.
then with the Bloods, they're broke up in the East Coast, West Coast, all these sets,
Mhm.
so it's a little different. But as far as just Blood total, like that was a big. And then by the time I come back in 2019, it had kind of changed a little bit where the Bloods had a little bit of a more number
Okay.
complement.
What about the Hispanic population?
Yeah, we had Uh, I wouldn't say it was a big population, but it was a significant one because there was so many, you know, riots and stuff that they were involved in. But yeah, we had about 40. We had about 40 Hispanic. That was about our average of what we would have on compound, and they would usually be uh, spread out over about 3 buildings.
Okay,
You know. Mhm.
got you. And can you recall one of the most violent incidents you witnessed in reference to the gangs, or maybe a riot where you just like, this is ridiculous?
Yeah, it's been a bunch of them, man. The first one that I was involved in that was like really crazy was dealing with Hispanics, and it was in C building. It was right in front of C building. It was really early in the morning. We were running breakfast,
Hmm.
and so it wasn't even daylight. It was still dark
Okay.
outside, and there had been a Hispanic that got robbed in D building the week before.
Okay.
And then so something happened in there. This one guy got robbed, and then once everybody squared off, like all the Bloods, yeah, it was the Bloods, but it was a specific set of them. I don't forgot which one it was, but they went ahead and just robbed all Hispanics.
Oh
You
man.
know, while when that popped off with the one guy, like they went ahead and robbed all of them and put them on the door. You know,
Okay.
and then that within a couple weeks after that, those same guys that had got robbed were put in C1.
Okay.
You know, so now they ain't in D building where they got robbed, but they in C1, and they, you know, little did we know they had been plotting. You know, and that morning when they came out, they did it real strategically. Like two of the guys came out and they just act like they was talking. It wasn't but seven of them. It was
Yeah.
seven Hispanics.
Yeah.
And in that dorm, it was probably about in C1, it was probably 35 bloods, something like that in
Yeah.
that dorm. You know, somewhere up in there, maybe even 40. I
Okay.
mean, because C building was the big blood dorm at the time.
Okay.
But anyway, the two guys came out and they just kind of waited, and then another guy came out and went to the fence, and another guy came out and went on up the sidewalk like
Yeah.
he's gonna go to chow.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, what they did, they waited on a certain number of them to get out. So they was waiting on like, hey, we need about 5 or 6 bloods out here. So they was sitting over there waiting, and then they had a guy on the inside that came out and they gave some signal like a whistle or something like that, and the dude shut the door. So as soon
Mm.
as the dudes that was already on the sidewalk, they gave the signal. And the only reason we seen all this because just reviewing it on camera afterwards, you know. But he gave the signal and Buddy shut the door, and then all them dudes whooped out swords and just started going at it on the sidewalk. And they were all trapped because you see, when we run them to chow, or at least back then, like we did things controlled. Like the movement, once you came out on the sidewalk, like we had choke gates.
Okay.
So when you come out in front of the building, you got a fenced in section that's in front of the building. So you got C building here, you got a fenced in section, and then you got gates before you go to D or B,
Okay.
whichever you
Got
way
got
going this way.
got
So each of the buildings are blocked off on the sidewalk with gates. So we had those gates locked. So between B and C was locked, and between C and D was locked.
you. Yeah.
So when they called them out here on this in this little yard area like that, and ain't none of them have weapons or none of that either, because like I say, they was going to chow, and we was waiting. Like me and another guy was not that awful far down the sidewalk,
Right.
waiting with the little metal detector,
Right.
you know, because but the Hispanics they wasn't planning on going to chow anyway. Like they know what was up. So they was hacking them dudes, man, and I was just sitting there and looking, and I seen everybody running, and so I called the code and started running up there. By the time I even got up there, there was a bunch of these guys that had done climbed up in the razor wire, and they were hanging sideways, you know, with their legs up in the razor wire. It was like blood coming down because they was getting cut all up by the razor wire. But these dudes had heard of them in the corner. See, that's what they did once it started because they had done got strategically set out like that. Like
Yeah.
once they started, they all ran them to the gate between B and C.
Oh
So
man.
what you ended up happening was it was about like seven Hispanics with like 10 bloods trapped in this little area, and they was just hacking them. And it wasn't but one dude. It was one dude that stood there and fought with his fist against these guys and was tearing them up to some degree, but they was getting him too, man. He was all messed up. Like his head was laid open. He was his hands was all cut up from getting hit with the machetes. But he was still fighting them when me and my partner ran up, and I shot one of the Hispanics with a taser, and then they rest of them dropped the weapons, and it didn't go on for that long, but for what little bit of time it went on, man, there was so much blood on the sidewalk that I mean, you would have thought that somebody got killed, but luckily, I mean, we kept everybody alive. You know, they ain't nobody die. They ain't nobody die the first 3 years. They ain't nobody die on us. Even though we had a bunch of stabbings and stuff like that, it's like we were so responsive that once it started, we had it over within 30 seconds or so, 45 seconds. Like it didn't just get to go on and on and on.
Right.
Like we had people responding that was running up in there. We would tase them or spray them with pepper spray or whatever we had to do to get it to stop,
Yeah.
you know. But that was my first like, oh, this is like big one where people got really hurt pretty bad.
I would, in my mind, I would. I'm just wondering when you're getting paid, because right now you say you came in at like 12, 13, $14 an hour.
Yeah. It was
So,
like 24,000 a year.
and you see from afar a real life knife fight taking place, and
You know?
you are supposed to run towards this violence.
Yeah, yeah. Right in the middle of it.
Bro, what do you eat for breakfast to make you run towards a knife fight for $15 an hour?
You know, I'll just say this in response to that. I watched your interview with the former sheriff
Uh-huh.
up around where you live, the guy that's running for Congress or was or
Yeah,
whatever.
his name is he's in Clayton County, and his name is dang, what's his name? I cannot think of his name right off bat. Uh damn, I can't think of his name. But yeah,
But shout out to him, man, because he was that was like he's the type of person that I like working with. I can tell that just from watching him,
yeah,
watching that interview and hearing the things he said. But he said something very important. He was like that certain people for these certain things, they're born for this, you know. And that's just that like
that's
to
that
me,
That's that
to
Marine
me,
Corps.
during that time, like, that was exciting to me. Like, I was going to go in the Marine Corps before that. Like, that's the type of stuff that I was just that's what I wanna do.
Yeah,
You know, I just seen that as, like now would I wanna do it if it wasn't a good reason for doing it?
yeah,
Like, do I wanna go be a gang member and go be in the stabs?
right,
Like, no. But
right.
if I can be in a position where I'm here to stop it and I'm here to be a peace officer and I'm here to try to uphold the standards and try to help any way I can. And if sometimes I'm involved in a situation like that, and it's like when a situation like that does come about, like it helps to have somebody around that's capable to do something about it, you know. And you got people like that. There's people that are just like that. They're just that's just the type of
Mhm.
stuff that they're into.
Yeah.
You know, that's just yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, man. You know, back then, like I didn't. That wasn't nothing that ran me off. Like that was. I mean, I ain't saying I wanted it to happen because I didn't. But when it happened, like I was like, this is what I'm here for. You know,
Now,
this is what I'm
now,
here
did you
for.
see
So
your fellow officers like, no, this I don't want to do this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you that's something I loved about working with the prison system
Okay.
because you really get to see um who it is that has courage when these things like this happen. Like we used to say, like you get to find out who the gate holders are,
Hmm.
you know, or the door holders, because you got. And I ain't talking bad on none of them.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
got their
I'm
knack.
sorry.
You know,
It was
everybody ain't down for stuff like that. Everybody don't want to go have a standoff with the gang members. You
right.
know, that's just not what everybody's down for. So when situation will happen, you will see that hey, certain people, man, they might open the door and see all the stabbing going on, and they just hold the door open and be like, yeah, you
Yeah,
know, y'all go on in, you
yeah.
know, type of thing. But um, yeah.
Um, do you or is the same time that the gangs are running things, do you see
Mhm.
uh drug overdoses or a high usage of drugs?
Mm-mm. I didn't really see that high of a usage of drugs until the strips thing came, man. Until now, in 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021, and on, I seen there was a time at Telfair, man, during COVID
Uh-huh.
that there were so many people ODing on those strips that it got to where we didn't even have time to like really check on them, man. There was so many that just say I'm going around counting. Man, I might have 40 dudes across the compound that's laying in the floor when I do that, you know, and it was so many that we couldn't even take them to medical. So, like, when I would come across situations like this, like, it got to a point to where I would just be in there checking them, make sure they're alive and stuff like that, and it was just like, you have to go on, long as he ain't in no kinda seizure or nothing like that. They would be in there rolling on the ground. The stuff with the strips, it got so bad that we filled our lockdown unit up within a couple days, and then we had people all in ID. We had people all in medical in the holding cells because they would wig out on these strips, whatever they were spraying on the paper and smoking them. Have you heard about that stuff? The
That's what
strips.
that was gonna be my next question. What's on them?
From my understanding, with the people that have done testing on it, sometimes it's like formaldehyde, sometimes it's like roach spray, sometimes it's an opiate, and that's when you have the OD and where they actually die. Like nobody ever OD'd and died, even during this time when the strips first came in. I mean,
Right.
they wasn't dying; they wasn't acting right. They would be leaned up against the wall, like this,
Yeah.
and just looking at you. And you'd be like, "Hey, man, are you okay, man?" He'd be like, "Yeah," and then he'd go back to the wall. And at first, we would take them and put them somewhere to let them detox. But what I'm saying is, it got to the point to where it was like that in every building with several people, like at all times. At Telfair, I seen dudes that was when I started at Telfair in 2014. I seen dudes that was in just say C2, for example, because some of these guys stay in the same building for years.
Right.
And I would see dudes that had a lot of respect, man. Like they didn't give them no problem. They had respect amongst the other inmates. Yeah, they might have been gang members or whatever, but they didn't give no problem.
Right.
And I would see these guys that I knew from then, and they're walking around. They ain't even got clean clothes on. The inmates are talking crap about him. Yeah, he done became a junkie and stuff like that. And I'm like, dang, man, this stuff really got these people like that.
It-
Like it's done turned somebody that was upfront,
yeah.
respectable guy. And now people just calling him junkie and he ain't even got no clothes to wear because he's done sold all his clothes for these strips. So the strips came in, they tore the place up as far as drugs go.
That's crazy.
And we had a problem with the meth before that,
Mhm.
some, but it wasn't that big of a problem. We might have 10 drug tests positive on the pound when we do drug tests or something like that. But
Right.
later and during this era, but the thing with the strips was we couldn't even drug test them because it wouldn't come up on the drug test. Whatever it was, it wasn't an opiate. At least at the beginning when all this was going down, it wasn't opiates because when you would drug test them, there wasn't nothing would show up on the panel.
So here's a
Mhm.
person who's drooling and can't stand upright, but he'll pass the drug test.
Yeah. Yeah, and it would differ. Like sometimes they'd be drooling, and then sometimes, like it was crazy, man. It was like seeing people possessed all the time, man.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you would walk by, and he'd be just,
Yeah.
and they'd be talking and kind of like in tongues and jumping around and stuff. And it was strange seeing that. That was a whole nother level of seeing things go down that I hadn't seen before. And that started in like 2019, 2020, around there. And when it hit, like I say, it took over the compound. I guess because it was just so easy to get in because it was paper.
Right.
Like they was just getting paper and soaking whatever on it, letting it dry, and then they would bring it in, and that's why they call it strips because they would cut them. They would cut
Mhm.
little strips of it, and then they would take that strip of cut paper and roll it up and smoke it like a cigarette or something. You know, so that's what they were doing, just smoking strips of paper, but it wasn't paper. It had substance on it.
Right. I was looking
Burn.
at a video on Instagram, and I think they were at Dooley State Prison, but some guy had a camera and he just showed the day room. It was like maybe 6 or 7 people just in the day room, just rolling around on the ground.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll ask you the same thing I asked Victor Hill. That's the guy's name. Somebody just put it down here in the chat. Victor Hill, who was the
Okay, yeah. Shout out to Peter Hill.
he's
You
the
know.
ex sheriff or the former sheriff of Clayton County. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know if I heard somebody talk, but there was a situation where a person who was housed at his facility thanked him, and he thanked him because he said that, while you were the sheriff, I wasn't able to get high. And because I
Yeah.
wasn't able to get high, I was able to get myself clean. And I'm clean today because and so I asked Victor here, I was like, how were you able to maintain? How were you able to so now my question to you would be, if at all possible, what could be done in order to stop people from ODing in the day room? What what has to take place in order for people to not get high. And I got partners who have been locked up since I came home, and they look strong. And then I go to the GDC and I pull up their picture, their current picture, and it's like a grandson and a grandfather. It's just like it's horrible. And I don't understand how a
Yes.
person could go somewhere and have that exposure to drugs and try to come home and be a real citizen. So without talking your head off, what can be done to reduce the amount of drug overdoses or drug uses in the Georgia Department of Corrections?
All the Georgia Department of Corrections has to do to drastically reduce that is the same thing what Mr. Hill said: control the territory. We don't have, like I'm saying, in 2019, when I'm saying that this is going on and all these people ODing, and or even if they OD and they're high in the day room and stuff, it's
Hmm.
like, man, we don't have but 4 officers here at this time.
Yeah,
Maybe five versus 40 when I started at in 2014.
yeah,
So we're down to a level where we are not controlling things like they should be. Things are coming in, even if it's not on the staff, because by this point we start having the drone situation and stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah, the drone can just come in and we have to figure out how to stop that. But also, like, the drone wouldn't be so successful if there was officers there when it got there. Like,
right.
these guys are just getting out on top of the building and stuff and getting these drones because there's no officer in the building, you know. So we're not controlling the territory of the prisons. We don't have them secure, and everything's just coming in, and it's coming in through all different kind of means, but it's coming in nonetheless because of how unsecure the prisons really are.
Okay, so I think it was maybe about 2 years ago, a kitchen staff worker at, I want to say it was Smith, but I could be, maybe it was Weir. Uh,
Where she got shot,
yes.
it
So
was a Smith.
she, it was where? It was at Smith?
It was at Smith, yes.
Okay, so this young lady is a kitchen worker, and she had some dealings with one of the guys, but she was shot with a firearm. She was shot and killed unalive, and then he unalived himself. How does
Yes.
how does this take place?
N Not only did that take place, but the GDC was notified of the gun months before the incident even happened, and they've gone on record and admitted that.
Huh?
Yeah, they was notified. They was notified months before that, "Hey, y'all got a gun on pound at Smith," and, you know,
Just
they
ignore it.
didn't get the gun. Well, I mean, I can't remember what exactly. That maybe they shook down the prison and just didn't find it. I can't remember if they, because it was several months later that the incident happened. So maybe they did shake it down once or something like that. After that, I can't remember, but I do know that they admitted after the incident that yes, they did. They had received word that there was a gun on the compound, and that
Mhm.
essentially they didn't believe it, type of thing. You know,
And this
but
could have been,
but yeah, that situation is completely insane,
yeah.
completely. But for so many reasons that, like, it's hard to even go into how many reasons that's insane. Because first of all, you got the gun in the prison, so now you talking about some whole nother. And look, that not only makes all the staff members hair stand up, that makes all the other inmates hair stand up too.
Yeah,
Because now they
yeah,
think, oh man, buddy's got guns. Like, now I got to get a gun because I'm gonna get put down bad. I'm gonna pull up with a knife and get shot.
yeah.
Up in prison. So then that's gonna make them want to try to get them in more if they
Right.
think these other people's got guns. So you got the gun in the prison.
Uh-huh.
Then you got the lady up here that's non-security that's working in the kitchen with no security in there because the post is abandoned.
Oh,
Yeah, because this is about the time that everything's getting short. So that was the kitchens were one of the first things that went down. The kitchens was going down as early as 2018, 19 at some of these prisons where when it started getting short, they'd be like, hey, we just got to do what we got to do. Pull this officer out of the kitchen and have them count and then have them go back. And then it went from that to, hey, pull this officer out of the kitchen and have them go on the hospital run. And then it went from that to we ain't even got an officer to put in the kitchen. Just, let it run type of thing. Just they had somebody come in there every now and then and count 'em. And other than that, these people were left with the inmates. And it ain't just the kitchen. Like, you're talking about counseling staff that are left down in the building. Like, I had big situations at Johnson where inmates would be back there. in the L building, the RSAT building,
Mhm.
which was connected to the main compound. Which this is supposed to be a RSAT. They're supposed to be, like you're saying before, rehabilitating themselves from drugs, and this is the worst drug building on the whole compound. And
Mm.
then the counselors were left back there in the office. The point I'm getting to with the counselors were left back there with no security, even back there.
Yeah.
So you have a situation like that going on all the time. So there was no officer up there with her. There was nobody that searched him. You're supposed to be searched when you come in the kitchen.
Right. Right.
There's supposed to be somebody there to search it.
Yeah.
Going back to
Went
what are
into the
the
kitchen.
duties of a third member
Is
is controlling these areas like the kitchen, like visitation, like these massive areas like this. Like this territory has to be controlled. Like the
right.
man said, like you have to make sure that people ain't coming up in here with knives.
Right.
Like you people ain't coming up in here with guns, ain't coming up in here with drugs or none of that.
Yeah.
Especially with the knife thing, man. Like I can't tell you how many even gang members would tell me, like, they might not tell me in front of everybody, but they would tell me secretly, like, man, we glad that y'all keep the knives off the sidewalk here, because at least we ain't got to be clutching the whole time we walk into chow. Like I can go and sit down and eat chow and I ain't worried about getting stuck.
Yeah.
They might be a fight that happens, but look, y'all own it on the sidewalk. It
Yeah.
ain't no knives on the sidewalk. It just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's good. You don't want knives. We don't want people stabbing each other, even in the building. But we surely don't want them stabbing each other all over here on the sidewalk and in the kitchen and in the dining hall and stuff.
Yeah.
So we controlled those areas, but that didn't happen at Smith, obviously. Because the
Right.
guy just he rolling around the whole compound with the pistol.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with an individual who was at Telfair not too long ago, and I won't say his name, but I
Mhm.
I was advised that, man, there was another firearm found, and it did not hit the news. It was not publicized.
I doubt that it would be.
Really,
These people keep everything. They've had inmates escape and not even tell the public.
man, get out
They
of here.
was Yes, recently, since I've left, I remember where they come out and they said that they had got him. The first press story release was that we just caught this guy after he's been gone for 8 days, or whatever it was. And I have to look. I could look that up and look back and try to find out exactly what. But it was in Georgia, and it was within the last 8 months or so that they had escaped. That they didn't even notify the public of.
So you
You know,
saying that
so
they found other firearms. They also have it in my mind. Somebody escaping. That's kind of like a public issue because the surrounding areas they kind of need to be on point. So
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not
You would think.
failing to keep the prisoners secure. Then you endanger the public with not notifying individuals.
Yeah.
Um, that's a wild place. So I got one of the chat said why they don't hire more officers. I don't know if you can answer that question, but why don't they hire more officers?
They try to hire officers. They need to be some type of reform done as far as the background check types of things
Uh,
because look, most of our prisons are male prisons. Okay,
right,
most people that get locked up are males.
right,
Most people that have that type of temperament that be violent or want to be a drug dealer or whatever it is like that's men that mostly do this type of thing.
right.
That's just sometimes we go good and sometimes we don't. We
Yeah,
go wherever we go, but right now people that come and just say you got a battery or something or an assault that was 10 years ago. And especially when you look at the totality of the circumstance, like, okay, if it's an assault and he was at a club or something like that, it's like, dude, man, it's a man.
right,
It's just a man.
right.
These things happen.
Mm,
And we have to give people second chances to come and be able to work.
mm,
So I mean, I'm not saying, look, we don't need to hire nobody that has been dealing drugs or nothing like that, just because obviously, like, they're gonna be in a prime spot to be
yeah,
doing
yeah,
personal
yeah,
living.
yeah.
But certain things like there has to be some type of reform done because we just can't get the males. Most of the males that come, they end up something coming up on their background. Maybe it was like a shoplifting thing
Yeah,
or something like that.
yeah,
That people did when they were young and they were people change, man. I've
right,
changed. I ain't the same person that I was when I was 21,
right.
and I'm sure you ain't the same person as
Oh,
you
not
was
at
when you
all,
were
not at
21,
all, not at all.
you know. So people change, and that's just the truth. And if we need help, then we need help. I'm not saying we need to throw away the rule book and just start doing whatever,
Mhm.
but that's the most complaint that we get about hiring officers is that. But not only that, like the time to fix this most effectively would have been when it first started getting short. Now it's hard to hire officers because you're bringing them into the environment like what I'm talking about. Now when the officer comes in, there ain't but 4 officers on compound. Everybody's clutching shanks everywhere they at. It don't matter if they on the sidewalk, chow hall, whatever. Most of the time at some of
Yeah.
these camps, there's no type of security present. There's no type of order. Everything's crazy. You got stabbings going on all the time. They're just there trying to keep up. They're just there trying to pretty much write down what happens,
Right.
essentially. And they can't even do that good because it's not even enough of them to write down all the stuff that happens
What is that pay looking
throughout the day.
like? Somebody just coming through the door.
I think now they got it at a 45, 46,000 a year, somewhere in there. Depending at these level fives, it might be even closer to 50. They got the pay up pretty good,
Okay.
pretty decent. The pay ain't that bad,
I,
the
I
pay,
need 50,000 to risk my life because in my mind, you risking your life every
yeah,
put that uniform on. It
especially considering the environment. Like I'm saying, when we had control and everything was orderly and you didn't have people doing stuff like this, you had a real authority at the prison that cared about keeping everybody safe, inmates and officers alike, and they were
right.
willing to do whatever they were supposed to do to make that happen, then it was a lot different. Now, man, ain't no telling what you have to pay somebody to get them to come into this type of environment like what I'm talking about, where there's no kind of order, there's no kind of discipline, everything's unsecure. You got people dying all the time, you got people ODing all the time,
Mhm.
you got people committing suicide all the time. And it's like now you're talking about a whole nother animal. So I would just say that the main solution to that would be let's secure the prisons and stop all this death and destruction.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't have to pay. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't need to make more, but you'd have a lot better chance of getting people in there if the place was a semi-secure environment to begin with,
Right.
and it would be a lot easier to get people to come in. And look, man, I'm sure you did time. Like prison ain't all bad.
Right.
Like there's good times that's had in their life. I've had great times in the prison.
Right.
Not just with fellow officers, but seeing things the inmates doing. They having a game. Everybody talking good with one another. That it's like a festivity. I mean, we would do festivities and stuff. We have championships and all type of stuff. We all out there, the officers watching, the inmates watching.
Right.
It's a thing going on. You got programs that happen that just can be a good. It can be a fairly positive environment, really, to tell you the
Yeah.
truth.
What
If you
I'll
just
say is that
secure it,
when it was discipline, I think Tony Turpin and he may have been the warden or maybe not the warden, but I don't know who the commissioner. I think the commissioner was Donald somebody. But
mm,
they ran a tight ship, man. And
yeah,
I don't want to be in prison. I don't like it. I don't. That's not something that I'm aiming to get back to. That's not on the to do list. But what I'm saying is, while I was
right,
there, I was able to maximize my time. I was able to
yeah,
shift my paradigm. And had it not been for some degree of strict security, I would not have been able. It's hard to read a book if you're running with a knife or somebody
exactly,
stab you. See what I'm saying? And what I'm
yeah,
telling you is that I went to trade school. I learned certain things. I participated in the debate club, the book club. I just ran a journaling class. I started journaling while I was at Alto. So I'm literally getting paid to do something that the staff taught me how to do. You know what I mean?
yes.
So I'm a
And that's the stuff like you want going on in prison. Like you just said, it's bad enough you already in prison, man. You
right.
already ain't in the free world. You got all these restrictions on what you can do. It's like you don't want it to be like what you're saying. You got to clutch a knife all the time. You all the time waiting on somebody to rob you and stuff on the
Mhm.
sidewalk. It's like, man, if you got to be there anyway, how about let's be doing stuff to better yourself?
Right.
How about let's do stuff to give you some skills, like you're saying now, to where you can make it in the world when you get out.
Right.
You know, how about we try to change these behaviors that you got? Maybe, and I've had many situations like this where maybe I got a young guy that's just giving problems all the time, and a lot of these guys that's giving problems all the time, you know, you can talk to him and just say, look, man, why are you doing all this? Like, it's not necessary. Like, you're
Mhm.
not getting anything from this. Like, you get a little bit of red call by forcing us to restrain you because you want a buck. But dude, you getting a DR. You're messing up your chances for parole. You're doing all this other stuff, and it's like, look, man, we can all get along. It's like
Yeah.
all you gotta do is follow the rules. You know, if I say, hey, man, I need you to do this, tuck your shirt in or whatever it is, then all you gotta do is just do it, man. And when you do that, and everybody treats each other with respect,
Mhm.
officer treat inmate with respect, inmates treat officer with respect. Everybody has a mutual understanding of what we're here to do.
Mhm.
Then things can be a lot better than bad. You know, there can be positive things that are happening, and I've seen it with my own two eyes. You know, so and that's good. Like that's what you want to see.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna have to see somebody in prison anyway because they did whatever or because they got convicted or whatever, it's like at least give you opportunity to better yourself while you're there. You
Right.
know, but these now
Not
not
help.
only are you not bettering yourself, you're
You could be
worsening
worse.
yourself
Or you could
because
die.
yeah, you could die. And I've seen it many times, man. Like at Telfair, when we had a string of like 6 guys that got killed within a month or two.
Yeah.
And there was one guy like right through the middle of that sting. I think that was in 2021. That's in my memory. Or it might have been in 2020. You know, it was right around that same era. But there was a guy and I was talking to him on the sidewalk, you know, because like I say, I know these guys. Like I see
Yeah.
them every day.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and I'm talking to him. I'm running yard call now. He's talking to me. Yeah, man, I'm going home in 9 months. Da, 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 I got this and that. I'm going to Macon or what I think it was Macon he was going to do. But anyway, he's just telling me the thing, and I'm telling him, yeah, that's good, man. We talking on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and then a few days later, I get a call, and they're like, hey, we need you to come to the prison. You know, we got a stabbing down here, and we got one guy that's dead, and laying in the doorway of one of the doors, and we ain't got but 2 officers here so we need help getting the situation under control. And I show up and then, I come up and it's this guy. It's this guy
No.
I was just talking to, man. And he was going home in 9 months. And now, I gotta pick him up, off the floor in here because he was left down. There wasn't no officers in the building. We almost had another guy die that same night that was getting out very matter of fact, he got out like that next week, you know. And, he did an interview. I seen him do an interview on some kinda news channel
Yeah.
about the death because it was a thing it was one of these things, like, where they had a lawsuit on it.
Right.
Because like I say, there wasn't hardly no officer on the compound at all when it happened. And it popped off with Bloods and the Crips in A2. And, it wasn't that many Crips in there.
Right.
It wasn't but like 6 or 7, and, it didn't go well for 'em. So that guy died. The other guy got stabbed all up. It broke both of his arms because he got chunked off the dang top range. And he went home with the cast.
Man.
This guy went home with his arm broke from getting stabbed up. And that prior week before all that happened. So I had talked to both of these guys. But
Uh-huh.
one of them made it. I had talked to him on the sidewalk in front of A building, and then the other guy, I was the one that let him out of lockdown and put him in A building because
Mm.
we was talking about that. He was like, "Man, I'm going home next week," and I was like, "Dude, man, you might as well stay in here because he
Yeah.
was in the hole already." I
Yeah.
was like, "Man, you might as well go on and stay in this lockdown, man. You ain't
Yeah.
got to go to this compound." He was telling me like, "Man, I want to, you know." He was keeping it real. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go down here and get some tattoos. I'm trying to get some cheap tattoos before I go home." And I was like, "Man, I wouldn't."
Yeah.
Because again, this is the this is the point where it ain't no officers there hardly anyway.
Right.
You know, but he wanted to go down to the building, and he did. And it wasn't but a day or two later that happened, and that's really tragic, man. That's really tragic. Look, man, it's tragic when you got one of these lifer guys that gets killed, which I've seen too. You
Mhm.
know, that's tragic. But it adds another level to it, man. When this guy is about to get out, he's almost done with this, and then life sentence on you, because it ain't nobody here and because the prisons are so unsecure that everybody's got knives. And then when the stuff pops off, it ain't nobody here that's got any kind of expertise medically and stuff like me, man. I've done tourniquets on people, I've stuffed packed wounds, I did all kind of stuff. Like
What's a
I'm a combat
tourniquet?
medic and stuff. Like where you cut the blood pressure, cut the blood flow off. Like so, I
Yeah.
use the inmate belt when I do it, like a homemade one. I usually use their belt, or I can use a
Yeah.
sheet or whatever. But you just what I'm saying, like you got somebody that stabbed through the arm, like the guy that I did. the first tourniquet on, he got stabbed all the way through the arm. So he went to block it, and it went all slammed through out the other side, and he was bleeding arterially. You know, it was like spraying and squirting.
Damn, bro.
So, you know, but somebody that, if as long as we have the staff there that are competent, and even if something like that does happen, it's like I was saying when I first started, like if you have a stabbing and 20 people are on scene 10, 15,
Yeah,
20
yeah,
seconds
yeah,
later,
yeah.
it's like it's a lot different than if you have a stabbing and it, you know, it's 3 hours before anybody even knows that there was a stabbing that happened. You know, you're talking about two totally different scenarios with that.
Yeah.
It's like with the first scenario, it's bad that something happened, but then you got people that coming up on scene that have been trained on how to do CPR, that
All
have
right.
been trained on how to do tourniquets, and have been trained on to try to be able to save somebody's life that's suffering from bleeding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So let me ask you this: what was that moment where you say, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this. This is not what I signed up for.
man, but there was a lot of them that was like, man, I might need to try to get out of this field, you know. But you got to think too that I was in a very specific circumstance, having came in when I did at the age I did,
Yeah.
and having done all I did to become what I was by this point.
Yeah.
Like, I worked hard for that. Like every prison that I was on the compound at, like, I had respect by the inmates. You
Right.
know, they ain't nobody try me like that. You
Right.
know, or do nothing disrespect. And I didn't do nothing like that to them either. You know,
Right.
unless I had to, like unless I was enforcing, you know, the rules or the policies or whatever. But like I dedicated myself truly to that craft, like to
Mhm.
being a security member of a prison, to secure in a prison and make sure that the place stays secure, and to help people when that had stuff happened or whatever. So it took a lot for me to be able to say, I'm done. I will tell you though, and I haven't even shared this on any of the stuff that I've done so far, because I've just now began really speaking publicly
Mhm.
about any of this.
Right.
In fact, 3 weeks ago, 3, 4 weeks ago was the first time I went on camera speaking. But the main thing that got me, because initially I just left the facilities division, because when I was at Johnson, Johnson was the craziest place I ever seen. Johnson was Johnson is a medium, and not only a medium, but it's a medium that's got mental health level 3. So they got mental health level 3, but also you got like a bunch of people in wheelchairs at
Mhm.
Johnson. Like Johnson, man, you might have 200 people that's in wheelchairs at Johnson.
Okay.
So it's like a medical camp. So you would think, like when I started, for instance, Johnson was like one of the sweetest places in the state. Like it was hardly no violence, no none of that at Johnson.
Okay.
But when I got there in 2022, there was when I got there was one other male there as far as officer that was able bodied. That's it. They didn't have no CERT team. They didn't have no tax squad. They didn't have no officers on shift. I mean, you might have 3 females on the compound, and that's it, you know. And so when I came up into that, it was like there was so much crazy stuff going on, because even at Telfair, even when it was short, you know, you had several of us that were around, myself included, that we were from that place. We had been operating Telfair State Prison for years. Like we had respect amongst the inmates. Like, so we still ran it better than 3 people should have been able to run a
Right.
prison, but
Right.
just
Right.
because we had a lot of experience with the prison and we were, you know, competent in what we were doing. But at Johnson, that wasn't the case. So it was all kind of crazy stuff happening at Johnson. But you know, I'll tell you this. There was an inmate. We were on inspection one day, and you were young. Did they do inspection? You know what I'm talking about when I say inspection? Well,
Yeah.
like when they're coming around
Yeah. So
inspecting
when
the
I was
room and
there on
all
the
that.
inspection area, your shoes are shine, the floor is shine,
Yeah,
you are fully dressed, and you are standing outside your door.
yeah. It wasn't like that no more by this point. But we still walked around and, you know, made sure everybody was all right, made sure they got ready. Because like I say, you're in a position where there's hardly nobody here. It's like there's not nobody to go down there and even tell them to get ready for inspection. They get ready halfway, but even when we come in, it's like we can't even spend a lot of time to make sure that order is maintained, because we got feed off to run. We
Right.
got ice call to run. We got showers to run in lockdown. We
Mhm.
got all this stuff, and we ain't got but 4 people.
Right.
So it just ain't enough people to get everything done. But we were
Right.
still doing inspection. Anyway, we're going around on inspection, right?
Mhm.
We're in the hole. we get in the hole and we see this guy, and the warden sees this guy with a he's walking around in the cell and he's got a piece of pipe stuck down in his waistband, like a weapon, just
Yeah.
a piece of a pipe and out of the pipe chase or whatever. But he's got a weapon. So he tells me, he's like, hey, you know, get this weapon. Well, first of all, he's asking the inmate for the weapon. The inmate's like, no, man, I ain't giving you the weapon type thing. And then I asked the inmate for the weapon. I said, hey, give me that pipe, all this. He's like, no, I ain't giving you the pipe. Everybody else got weapons around here. Why y'all gonna take mine? Type of thing. When I'm looking at this guy, I recognize him. Okay. When I recognize him, hold on, let me is the picture still good or do I need to try to get that light back on?
No, you
Let me
good.
try to get that back on. But anyway, so we're going around, we do the inspection, and then we get this guy's cell and all this happens. The guy, just a second. Okay. So the guy refused to give me the knife.
Okay.
This was at a time where we didn't have any pepper spray. We didn't even have no more pepper spray at the prison. It
Okay.
was out. Okay. This happened a lot. Like there was a lot of incidents at Telfair that happened during the era that all the George Floyd riots and stuff like that were going on.
Right.
Like we ran out of pepper spray because all the other police agencies at these places that had a lot of riots, they were like
Oh,
getting all the pepper spray.
gotcha.
So we ran out of pepper spray several times through the era of 2020 to 2023. Like we ran out of pepper spray a couple times there, and that causes a problem when you got these prisons running with no staff there.
Right.
So anyway, that we didn't have any pepper spray. So, but when I seen this guy, I was like, "Oh man, this is not good," because I knew this guy from Valdosta, you know,
Oh,
and this guy was one. And when I seen him, I was like, "Oh man," because at Valdosta, I seen this guy get in a fight,
mhm.
and there was like 4 or 5 people, either one, that jumped on this guy, and man, they was like screaming bloody murder over there. This guy was so violent that the four or five people jumped on him, and the ones jumping on him was biting him and stuff by the end of it. Because he was biting them, he was gouging their eyes, like he was tearing them up, man. And he was punching hard and all this. Like he could fight. Like this dude can fight. I know he can fight, and I know he's like, because he's mental health level 3 too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dang, this is not a good situation. This guy's got this weapon and he ain't want to give it up. And at this day, I was the only guy there.
Yeah.
So I'm the only male on compound besides the warden, and the warden is like 55, overweight and diabetic. So he can't help with,
Any of this
he
shit.
can't help with suiting up and going in a room, you know. So I try to get the knife from him, or not the knife, but the little pipe.
Right.
He don't give it to me. The warden has done moved on because he's trying to hurry up and get done with this inspection, to walk around all the compound. It wasn't nothing but just me and him going around on inspection that day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I go to the warden after we get done. I say, "Hey, look, this guy, he wouldn't give me that knife or that pipe." And I said, "We don't have any pepper spray." I said, "So if we're gonna do an extraction, you're gonna have to call somebody. Like they're gonna have to send tax squad to come help me or something like that. Because I mean, I can't go in this room with him by
Right.
myself.
Right. Right.
And I'm not gonna take women in the room with me like that either.
Right.
Like this guy, I know what's up. Like if you've been
Yeah.
around enough people, like you know what it is when it is what it is.
Yeah.
And this guy's one of them guys. So I wouldn't even take women up in a cell with me. If I had to go up in there, I would go in there by myself before I take women because I
Right.
know I know that if I can't get him by myself, then they dang sure ain't gonna be able to get him.
Right. Right.
So I told him that, and he was like, "Dang man, um, it's we're sitting there thinking like, look at this position we're in. We can't even do an extraction on one
Mm,
inmate. We can't
mm,
even get one inmate.
right.
But this is gonna get a lot worse, brother. Okay. But so he says, "Hey, go get with the female unit manager and see if she can sweet talk him out of So now we're at a position where we're so bad with staff that we can't deal with this. And now we're talking about, hey, see if you can go, see if the female can go, run the female talk on him and be nice and stuff, and see if she can get the pipe from him." Okay. So she went down there and doing that. By this time, The next day rolls around before I just kind of I said, hey, okay. I told her that, and then they talked about it afterwards. I mean, I didn't know if she got it or not. That next day, I asked her. I said, did that guy give you that pipe? She was like, nah. He ain't giving it up. And I was like, okay. That same day, the next day, there was an inmate down there, and these are things like this that's going on. That's like back to back to back to back to back when especially when you're trying to manage a whole compound like this
Mhm.
by yourself. During that same day, there was an inmate down in L building, the RSAT, like I'm talking about, that was back there threatening the counselors. Come on, I'm gonna come in there and beat on you and spit on you and all that. He got mad with them. I mean, you got people that just lose their temper and they start threatening everybody and all this.
Mhm.
So that happened down the L building. When I go back there, the inmate, he's still being belligerent with the counselors, cussing them and all that. When I roll up, because I roll up by myself anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Roll up, I pull the taser on him. He cuffs up. By this point, there's another lieutenant because this next day there's a guy there. There's a lieutenant. This next day he comes up. Anyway, we get the guy, we take him to ID. I tell the lieutenant, I was like, hey, stay here with him. I'm gonna go get this guy a room and I'm gonna be right back. Because you have to find out in the computer if they can match up in the lockdown. Like you can't just take somebody and throw them in the room with anybody.
Right.
Like you gotta make sure that they match up. You gotta make sure that they're not gonna be putting the inmate in any kind of danger or anything by putting him in the wrong kind of room down
Mhm.
in lockdown.
Right.
But so I went to go get the went to go find the room. I come back, man. The orderly meets me out on the sidewalk, and he's telling me, he's like, "Hey, man, uh, I just want to tell you, like, such and such. The lieutenant took the cuffs off the guy, and he's in the ID, and he's got a knife, and he says he's gonna stab you when you come in there." So I'm like, "Man, what?" So the orderly. I'm glad he did. I'm glad he came out there and gave me that heads up because Buddy
Yeah.
might have would have stuck me. If I wouldn't have already went up in there with the knowledge, like, hey, this dude might be about to try to stab me.
Yeah.
So he told me that. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, he's got a knife for sure. Like he pulled it out. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna stick him, da da da. He was talking that crap, in
Yeah.
there, in ID. So I walk in, I tell him, I'm like, hey man, stand up, turn around, put your handmade back. And then when I said that, he jumped up, he started pulling the knife. So when he started pulling the knife, I mean, I was already ready for it in my mind because I just got told this guy's about to try to stab me. So hey, so I shoot him with a taser at the same time that he's drawing it out, and it drops on the ground. And then he tried to go for it, and then we on the ground rolling around. It's just me and him. And then finally another a female sergeant comes and tries to help a little bit. Anyway, I get him restrained on the ground. He breaks my watch, all this type of stuff while we uh rolling around on the ground and stuff. But I get him under control. He refuses to walk anywhere and talking about how he's gonna kill me and all this and that and other. Which I mean that's kind of a common thing when you have,
Yeah.
incidents that get like this. But I take him to lockdown, and I put it in the door sheet. I put it in the system, and I told the management that was there. I was like, "Hey, look, make sure that this guy don't get released this weekend because he just not only did he try to do that with me, but he was there back there threatening the females too. So
Right.
this dude's just like being a menace right now. Like we can't let him out. Don't make sure because at this time that you had so many inmates that was trying to go to lockdown all the time. They was putting themselves on the door so much that like they had to have a list to let people out on the weekend so that they could put people in.
Mm.
Because like I say, when you done lost control of the whole compound, like this stuff is so dangerous that you got a lot of people that don't want to stay on the compound.
Yeah.
Like they just don't want to be out there doing that. So you had that happen. I put him in lockdown. All this is going on. I ain't even think nothing about the pipe situation with all this going on. All this goes on. I come back the next day. I think that was on a Friday. So I come back Monday. This guy, I meet up with this same guy on the sidewalk that just pulled the knife on me on Friday, bro. He walks up and he's looking me up and down. I look him up and down. I said, "What's up?" You know, and then he was like, I'm gonna spare you," type of thing. And he's walking off, and I'm just sitting there thinking like, should I lock him back up? I mean, I kind of don't even want to do that because then that kind of makes me look weak or something. Like I'm scared
Yeah.
of him. Like I'm not scared of this guy, but at
Yeah.
the same time, like who did that? Why
Right.
did y'all let him out?
Right.
He just was trying to stab a staff member, and
Yeah.
then so I go up to talk with them about it. They're like, "Oh, we ain't know type, it was an accident." And I'm like, "Dude, man, y'all are running this prison so insecure. Like, do you know that? What if that guy What if like now I know he's on compound for
Yeah.
right now. We ended up locking him back up. But I was like, what if he would have came up behind me when I wasn't looking and got me?
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know, this can happen. Especially if I ain't even expecting that I got somebody that's got these kind of feelings for me. And then we just had an incident 2 days ago and he
Mm,
just got let out of lockdown. So anyway, after that happened, they had already been other things that happened. I
mm,
went out on leave. I took leave, and this was at the time that I said I've had enough, man. I gotta get out of here. I went out on leave, and I called somebody that I knew, and I told him I was like, "Look, man, I'm coming up on 10 years in this system. I done did a lot." I said, "But I can't do this thing no more with these prisons being like this. Like it's running me crazy being in here with involved in all this, and we don't have the stuff here to even accomplish the mission."
right.
So I was like, I pretty much said, look, if I can't get a position outside of facility instructing or whatever, then I- I'm just letting you know, like, I'm going to be resigning soon.
Yeah.
So when I told them that while I was on leave, they pretty much said, look, we got a position that's coming up. You know, you pretty much just need to do 30 more days and you'll be able to get a position.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I can do 30 days of anything. So I go back to work, man. I go back to work and they're telling me I spent about 3 weeks out. I took about 3 weeks off
Mm,
after all this situation, and that wasn't the only situation, man. Yeah, I'm talking about stuff like this
yeah.
weekly stuff like this going on.
Mm,
And I come back and they say there's two of our staff that are out right now because they had a big use of force down in the building last week. I was like, what happened? And they say, oh, they said the dude's name, and I was, oh man, that's that dude that had that pipe
the same.
that day because I know this guy. Like, listen though, man. They had the guy, and I was like, "Dang, man." I told the warden, like, "Look, man, you can't just send anybody in the cell on this guy that don't know what they're doing." You
Right.
know, and that's why I told him that, like, we need to call some people that day when it was just me there. But anyway, they told me they was like, "Look, that the inmate, that guy, because he had a roommate
Mm,
that was a well-behaved inmate,
yeah.
and he had a roommate even that day. It turns out that this guy had been raping the other guy for weeks in this cell."
Mm,
And they finally something happened where the inmate at the other roommate finally said something after, I mean, 30 days of being raped. And then they had to go in and two people got put out because they went in there with two men. They went in there with one moderately in shape man, another man that wasn't in that good of shape, and two females went up in the room on this guy. When this out, I wasn't even there. Like I say, I was out during the time that they went in. So when they're telling me all this, man, like it's just hitting me so hard, man. Like I ain't gonna lie, like I shed tears when they told
yeah.
me that because I was like, man, any time before that would not have happened. The
Right.
moment we seen um that pipe, man, it wouldn't have took 30 minutes to have dudes running up in the cell and getting that. And then that would have saved that guy. All that wouldn't even that that guy in there getting that done to him was completely unnecessary because the prison has been let get to the point where, like I say, we can't even do nothing about one little simple thing going on. Like an inmate got a pipe down here, and this is in lockdown, man. He's in the cell. Like this is in the hole. You know, so this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about, like stuff like that. Like I look at that like I failed. Like, because like I say, I'm here to do this job. I'm
Right.
here to keep the prison secure. And we got an inmate with a pipe. But what we gonna do? We don't have nobody, there ain't nobody here to go in with me. And you
Dang.
know, I guess, you know, there ain't nobody catch on and just nobody ever followed up on it. And look, man, I don't even necessarily blame those people for that because, like I say, there's so much going on, you can't even hardly keep up. And then what was they gonna do? Like that day, we would have had. That's exactly what we would have had to do. What I said: call some people out here,
Yeah.
some men that we
Yeah.
need to do a situation like this, and
Yeah.
let's go in there and get him. But you see, you run into positions where these people don't want to do that because then for whatever reason, they feel like that makes them look like that they can't run the prison. And that's the whole thing with the whole GDC. The GDC as a whole needs to admit that we don't have this thing under control. We don't have enough people in here to
Okay.
accomplish the mission. We don't even have enough people in here to take a pipe from an inmate.
Hmm.
That's how bad it is at some of these places. And then that causes situations like this, where you got something that should have been preventable because we found out about the pipe.
Mhm.
We should have been able to go in. You should not have a prison running with one dude or no dudes on compound. What kind of stuff is this, man? You know, you know that this stuff like this is gonna happen because you don't have nobody there to respond.
Right.
Bro, at Johnson, this is another one of these situations where I'm looking at things and I'm like, dude, man, this is done went so far downhill that we just don't have anything secure. We had a guy come up in um the barbershop and wig out. Okay. He come up in there, he got done stripped his clothes off, he's dancing around. I had just left for the day. I had been left for like 30 minutes or so.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm at the house. They didn't call me until after the incident. Anyway, it ain't nothing but females on the compound.
Mhm.
So the female lieutenant gets the other females, and then there was a one new officer, male, that wasn't in good shape, that was on night shift. They got there about the same time. So they wound up going in there with like five females and a male on this guy. And this guy's like 6'2". He's like my size. Like he's like
Right.
6'2", 200 pounds. Like this is not a small guy.
Right.
So they go up in there and then the guy attacks him, right?
Mhm.
The guy attacks them. They trying to use the taser and the pepper spray. That stuff don't work. He grabs a lieutenant. He throws on the ground. He gets her around the neck. He's choking her in there. All these other officers trying to get him off of him. But guess what? They're women. They ain't, they hitting him and it ain't doing nothing. I don't know if you ever been hit by a woman, but look,
Not that I can remember.
men, yeah, but look, women cannot go against men when it comes to physical
Period.
combat.
Period.
Every now and then, I mean, exceptions don't disprove the rule. So
Yeah.
every now and then, and I had a good woman like that on at Valdosta that was real. She could do something as far as physically, but
Yeah.
even her, it was like she might have been 250 pounds. Having her with me, like 150-pound dude will still go harder than her
Right.
just
Right.
because of the difference between men and women. So
Right.
anyway, this dude's choking this lady. All these people trying to get her off, get the dude off of her. They can't do it. They're failing at being able to do it. This new officer guy is this is his first encounter like this. So he don't understand that it's time to really turn up the heat. So he's
Yeah.
still trying to pull on the guy and he's trying to do this. And you got the LT's getting choked. Like this woman's life's in danger. Do you know, man? And thank God that they did. But the orderlies out on the sidewalk, seeing what was going on, went over there. The door was locked, kicked the door in, and rolled up in there. And within 3, 4 seconds, she was free. And the orderlies was whooping dude all over the barbershop. It was a bloody mess. They was beating him with chairs. They was on him. Like it was a beating in there for real. My point to bring up that situation is this. Yes, it's good that the inmates helped this lady. I'm
Mhm.
glad that they did. But at the same time, if that had been us, if that had been a CERT team,
Mhm.
he wouldn't have been beat that bad. Because you see, we're responsible for what we do. So I can't just go up in there and beat, somebody with a chair once we get him off. Like the other inmate, we can't even get on to them about that. Like, look, we shouldn't have had a prison so insecure that we can't even handle one guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when these guys do something like this, it's like you're in a position where, dang, this guy just got messed up in here. But look at the whole situation. Like you can't write, and they didn't write none of them up or none of that. And good. Like, no, I wouldn't agree with writing them up anyway. But what I don't agree with is putting our officers in a position like that where they're not even capable of dealing with one dude. And while most of these guys that are in prison, they're not looking to be trying to hurt no officer. They're trying to do their time. You might wind up getting in an argument with a guy or something like that. That's just because men are men,
Right.
but they're not there trying to hurt people. But every now and then somebody goes off, somebody gets it in their mind that they're gonna hurt somebody, or they have a situation like this where they're high on drugs or something like that.
Yeah.
And it goes down behind that. And when you have that, it's just insane to me that we would leave a prison with one or no male officers even on compound, because you have to have a couple males to even be able to one dude, man. You
Yeah.
have to. It just
Yeah.
is what it is. Because the women can't help, but not only can the women not help with men like that, but one dude can't really do nothing either.
Right.
He can, but um, I mean, there's a bunch of inmates that can clean me up, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
everybody ain't the baddest person ever.
Right.
You ain't always. There's always somebody that can take you
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you're coming in with five on one of us might get hurt or something like that. Like somebody might get took out, but we're not all gonna get took out up in here.
Right. Right.
And that's what you're supposed to have. Like if we got a situation going on, like that dude with the pipe, we should have stacked up and run up in on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that was a situation where it's time to do it.
Yeah.
And it would have been good to do it. It would have prevented that other guy from having to go through whatever 2 more weeks of what was happening to him. If we would have had the people there and had the competent people there to be able to say, "Hey, let's do it," and just talking about the stack thing,
Mhm.
dude. When I got stabbed at Telfair in 2021, this is
Oh,
another
you got
situation kind of like this.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know what?
yeah.
So I want to do before
I
you
got
start this.
a.
I want to apologize because when you sent what you sent, I
Mhm,
thought it was just this part. So that's
yeah,
all that I read. I didn't realize till we started talking, bro, that it's a lot. It's a lot. So some of the
yeah,
stuff I asked you, I would have been more well prepared or better prepared. So I apologize for that. But you got stabbed?
yeah, yeah. Man, I have been. There ain't nothing that I haven't been done to. I've been headbutted. I've been kicked. I've been stabbed. I've been stomped. I've been spit on. I've had urine thrown on me. I've had feces thrown on me. I've been stabbed. I've been hit with a extension cord. I mean, I've had a lot of incidents, brother. I'm like, I don't even know if there's somebody that's been through more than I've been through as far as stuff like that. I mean, there's people that's got stabbed worse than I did for sure, because I didn't get stabbed that bad as far as the actual stabbing. Like the thing I did end up having to get a surgery on my neck. Like I had to get a plate and some screws put in to fuse C5 and C6, because when he did that, it ruptured my disc in my neck when I got stabbed. Because the main stab that I got was actually in the gas mask. I had a gas mask on, and it went through the front face of the gas mask, and it snapped my head back and tore the gas mask off. So because it actually went through the face shield of the gas mask, and then it ripped it off my head, and it cut my forehead a little bit as it took, ripped the gas mask off, and it was that snap of my neck like that actually, did my neck in. Like in the situation itself, I thought that I was pretty good. Like I got hit in the over here on my left shoulder a little bit, and then I had
Mhm.
that cut where it tore the gas mask off. But other than that, I was like, dang, I made it through that with minimal damage. I didn't know that my neck was damaged like it was. But my point of bringing up that situation is this: during that situation, I came in because this is another time where we ain't got no pepper spray, and
Mhm.
these things like this are happening. This is another time where a guy was getting raped. So this a inmate had raped a roommate. They had already got the roommate out because they was just running showers, and the roommate came out and just refused to go back in. And then it was a thing like they was calling me because I was the chemical munitions specialist at the prison. So being as we didn't have no pepper spray, if anybody had to, if there was a situation where we could use like CS gas or something like that, like
Mhm.
I'm certified in doing that. Like I've done did it during riots and during all kind of stuff before. And I'm an instructor for it and all this. So I know how to do all that. So they were calling me in all the time to deal with these situations like this because I was the only one that was certified to use the dang CS gas.
Uh-huh.
So they called me in for this situation. I go down there. This is about to be, and it was one of the worst situations I ever been in because I seen what was up. This dude was the head of security for the Muslims on the compound. That is in the cell.
Mm.
He's in the cell. He was the head of security for the Muslims. Not only that, He's in there. He has got knives tied to his hands. He's got several sets of clothes on. He's got the cell set up. Like he's ready. He's really, really ready. And he's not even talking. This dude, he wouldn't even say anything the whole time. Like I was at the door with him, like I'm trying to de-escalate. I'm trying to talk to him, like, hey
Yeah.
man, what you got going on? Like, let's talk about this type of
Yeah.
thing. No, he wouldn't.
No
He's
talk.
just standing there looking like I'm waiting on you, man. I'm waiting on you to come in. That's what I'm waiting on. But he was wigging out too on like he'd been up for days. His roommates, was telling like that he's been high on meth. He's up for days. So ain't no telling what is in this guy's mind. But anyway, with that situation, my point of bringing it up about the whole stack thing is this: when they called me out there, we was already short by this point because this is in 2021.
Mhm.
They called me out there. They got they had me, and then there was two guys from Hayes Tax Squad there
Okay.
because uh because Telfair was so short by this time that they were having tax squads come and help us man the prison. Okay. But there wasn't but two members of Hayes Tax Squad. That's the whole tax squad of Hayes, two. At this time at Telfair, the whole tax squad was one person. The whole CERT team was four people. It's supposed to be nine. Okay, so this is the situation that you're in. Anyway, I go down there. Ain't none of these guys even done a cell extraction before. Okay. So now I'm looking at this. It's us, it's me and these two guys from Hayes, and then it's a new guy that just came on cert. He's never did an extraction before. He was a CO1 at Telfair with me back in the day. He just came back. So now I'm in here, I'm looking at this situation, and I called the dep, and I say, hey, look, this is what's going on. Um, this guy's gonna be violent when we try to go in, and these guys ain't never even did a cell extraction. So I was like,
Mhm.
hey, can we try to do a different option? And let me shoot some CS in there first and see if I can get him with that, And he was like, yeah, we can justify that, because it's so, because he's got the knives and all that. So I was like,
What?
okay.
Yes.
CS is, dang man, call me out. I forget the name of it. Exactly. It's tear gas.
Okay. Okay.
Tear gas. That's what people call tear gas.
Okay.
Okay. So I used that and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. So at this point, it's like, okay, we're gonna have to do the extraction. Now, unlike the time with the pipe thing, it's like I got the people here, but they don't know how to do a cell extraction. So
Right.
I have to take these guys, go in the day room, teach them how to do a cell extraction right before they about to go on the ride of their life in this cell. They first one ain't gonna be a mock one with me in there because that's how we normally would do it. Like
Right.
if I'm training my guys, like I'll tell them all these things, I'll have them prepared mentally for the strategy and for what their role is, and then I might get in there and pretend to be the inmate and let them run through this thing so they can see how this goes down.
Right.
That's what was done with me. Like my first extraction wasn't on a dude that was finna try to kill me. Like it
Right.
was on, another officer or something like that to where we can train for this and get them ready. But this situation, I mean, we just didn't have the time for it.
Mhm.
We have to do this and we got the people, so I just got to train them. So I trained them in, in the day room, and then we went in on dude, and we made the best of it. We got him, and ain't nobody. He had to go to the hospital or whatever, and then I had the injury, and then another guy, the second guy, because I had to go in. That's another thing. Like usually with a cell extraction, you're gonna put the biggest guy at the front,
Right.
okay? Because you need to wait to really hold this guy against the cell. But the biggest guy was one of the guys from Hayes, and I could tell that he was like it wasn't that he was scared or none of that, but I could tell that he was worried about the situation. So I didn't want to put him on a shield and then, have him freeze up or something like that, and then
Yeah.
us all get hurt. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna run the shield. So I ran the shield on this incident. Anyway, so I get him pinned up against soon as the door comes open, he's coming out. Like he's at the door, coming ready. That shows you that he knows what he's doing as far as tactically.
Right.
You know, so, and he does, like this guy, like, I already knew that though. Like, I
Yeah.
know this guy, I know what's up. So we go in, I get him pinned up against the wall, and then the guy behind me, after the fact, he says that he slipped or something like that, but he slipped and knocked me off the guy. So now I get knocked over the toilet. This guy, who by the way is like the worst as far as physical to deal with. He's slim and tall and lean.
Yeah.
you know, and he's got these knives tied to his hands like this, so you can't even get them out of his hands. So he's stabbing the
And he high
second.
on meth too.
Yeah, and he's high on meth. Yeah, like this is a serious situation, and there ain't no lights in the room. Like he's got the thing. We up in here in the dark. Like all we can see is what you can see from the light from outside the door up in there. You know, because he got all the stuff shorted out and all. Like I say, he was ready. You know, he knows
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah.
But so the guy he's stabbing the other guy. I get up after getting knocked down and jump on this guy and grab him. That's when he got me because I grabbed one of the knives, and at this point I didn't know that he had two. You know, I really just thought he had one. So I grabbed the one. He gets me in the gas mask and gets me on the back of the shoulder, and we were, you know, I get him down on the ground in there, and he's trying to get me. He got me in the leg a little bit, like pushing the other one in me. Um, but when I had him on the ground in there, another guy came in that I gave my baton because see, there was a fifth male there that was a brand new officer, and before we went in, I gave him my baton, and I was like, "Look, if this guy, for whatever reason, makes it past us, or if we get up and can't do it, like you gotta here, you got the baton. Don't let him get out of the room. Like just if he gets past us, like you can use this baton. Like you're
Mhm.
good on that. Like because once with a guy like that, if you get him out in the open space, like it's gonna be deadly. You know, like you really want to keep somebody like that in a enclosed environment so you
Right.
can, you know, so he just don't have room to move around and use
Right.
those knives like he really can.
Yeah.
You know, but so I had told him that and got him prepped up for that anyway. So when I had him on the ground in there, and when I once I was able to like get him to where he couldn't really stab me that good. He was trying the whole time. Like when we was on the ground in there at the first, we was doing like this across the floor in there because I had the where he had the big knife because he had one that was like 11 inches. That was the one that I had a hold of his hand, and every time he would try to stab me, I would push away at the same time
Right.
because I had a hold of his wrist, you know. So
Mhm.
he would try to stab and I would push away. And so we was doing that. And then I told the guy outside, I was like, hey man, come in here, hit this dude, you know. I think that's my exact terminology that I
Yeah.
use. You know, I mean, I'm in here fighting for my life. So he came in there, he hit the guy, and then when he hit the guy, when I felt that he went, you know, that when I felt that he stopped trying to stab me, I told him, hey, stop hitting him, blah, blah, blah. Got him off of me, got him cuffed, and uh, and he made it just fine. I mean, he had a concussion and all that. He had to go get some stitches, but he made it all right. And we actually had a conversation, you know, whatever, a week later. But that's how it is, though, man. That's how it is because by this point, I've done been in so many situations like that with guys that I know what it is, and we all know what it is, you know.
Mhm.
And I ain't never been one to really hold nothing against somebody. I mean, look, I'm here being an officer, you here being an inmate, and if it came down to that, like I ain't gonna be out to get you afterwards or nothing. Like I ain't gonna let you roll up on me or nothing like that, you know.
Right.
Um, but I'm not after you or something. If you apologize like that, he apologized and all that, you know. And I accept that, you know. It is what it is. He was high on meth, and I mean, he was normally a cool guy,
Yeah.
you know. And I kind of knew of him and stuff because I seen him around. That's why I knew that like that was gonna be serious because it was another situation kind of like the other where you already know this guy's about it, you know.
Okay. As I'm looking through everything that you said at some point in time, okay, so that's the stabbing. You were transferred to Johnson State Prison at the ERT commander in 2022. Became full-time instructor again in 2023. You
Yes.
submitted 3-page statement to leadership of the GDC as the full-time institutional instructor of Washington State Prison in August 2024, calling for action in regards to terrible conditions inside of our prisons. I was
Yes.
immediately told that if I didn't recant my statement, that I would be terminated or could choose to resign. Uh, you did not recant your statement, and you also refused to resign. You had a 20-minute Zoom call with the assistant commissioner of the facilities division, Ahmad Holt.
Yeah.
You was lied to several times during the interview, and none of the issues you raised were addressed. You were told that you were supposed to be reassigned to Hancock State Prison as punishment for your statement. When you refused, they just said that You resigned, but did not give you an opportunity to write a resignation letter. You resigned
Mhm.
8/13/24. You submitted the statement on 8/1/24, and now you're speaking out publicly to raise awareness to the issues facing Georgia's correctional system and calling for sensible action. So my question is, who's in charge? Is it the commissioner? Is it the governor? Who ultimately can come in and change what's going on? Because right now, the staff, their lives are in danger. And
Yeah.
that's well from kitchen staff to I mean to correctional officers, search team,
Counselors,
everybody.
everybody.
Everybody's
At
life
the
is
inside the gate, you're in danger.
you're in the,
But I mean, look, there's always been danger, but it's a difference between, hey, you're in a prison that's got security here,
yeah.
than hey, you're in here and there's two females on the whole pound. You know, if
And they
somebody starts
they got
stabbing you, you
good
better
milk.
be able to handle it.
Yeah.
You know,
And they got a shipment of that good milk back there. So ain't no telling when
yeah,
it might get funky. Who is
yeah. Even if
in
you,
charge?
yeah, the ultimately the governor. Okay, ultimately Kemp can do something, can request the National Guard and all these things like this. Besides that, look, the commissioner of the GDC tomorrow can say, look, we are in crisis. We're shutting down everything as far as mobile construction, all these programs that I'm not saying like programs that's going on inside the prison. I'm saying programs that we got that we're running outside
Okay.
that we're doing. Okay. And training stuff and all that too. Like, look, if we're in a position like this, the commissioner, he has enough employees to fill these posts. The thing is, though, that a lot of these people, when things started getting bad, they started exiting and getting like I did. You
Mhm.
know, I got an instructing position and I got out of the prison. Like I'm saying, and when all these things are going on like this, I said that I got out. And then, we never really got to when I submitted that statement. But I had already got out, man. I wasn't even in it no more really like that when I
Right.
left. But
Right.
I'm seeing my people in this. Like I look at these as my people.
Right.
And I'm seeing them get put in these positions like this. I'm over here trying to teach them in class because I'm an instructor. I'm trying to teach them the right way to do this, and they looking at me and saying like, "Look, we know that that's the right way, but that ain't what's going on in this prison, man. It ain't but six of us here." And it's like, I know that that's the truth because I done been there.
Right.
So at this point, I just felt like, you know, I mean, I just felt like something had to be done, something needed to be done,
Mhm.
and that even though I wasn't even in there no more, that I was still responsible to a certain degree because I have the ability to speak out and I can, and I didn't. But keep in mind now, all through these years, I've been speaking to people. I've been speaking to wardens, I've been speaking to administrators and stuff,
Right.
and saying, "Hey, what is our plan?" And you just met with, "Oh, y'all just make it happen. We're gonna hire some more people." And then we get even shorter. And then we say, "Hey, man, what we gonna do, man? We looking real bad. We got 10 people here." And I say, make it happen. And then that kept on going to, like I say, where you got one person there. Man, I have ran Telfair and Johnson by myself. There is nobody else on
That-
compound. It wasn't that often that I did it like that, but there's been days and nights that I've been on the only one, and I'm not the only person that's done that.
mhm.
But my point is that is insane.
It is.
That is complete lunacy. Of course, we're gonna have people getting raped. Of course, we're gonna have people getting killed and murdered. If we're running at this kind of level,
Right.
it's impossible to get anything done other than, like I say, try to roll up and journal what happens. Oh, there was a stabbing and two people got killed. That's pretty much all you can do if you're there by yourself. You don't have the resources to do anything else. So as I'm sitting out there in training and looking back over my career and knowing how we do things when it's running correctly, and then also thinking about these situations like with this guy with the pipe and like all these other ones, like doing this illustration with people that ain't even got no experience and trying to
Mhm.
teach them before we go do this. When I'm looking at situations like that, I was like, man, we can't just let this out. And they started sending females to the hospital post with inmates without no kind of males, which is totally against policy, totally against what we're supposed to be doing. you know. And the more and more stuff that I finally just said, look, I couldn't take it. It was on my soul. I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm sitting over here and I felt like a hypocrite sitting in there teaching these people the policy, which I'm required to do. And I'm not saying that I taught anything that was against policy because I didn't. But I'm teaching them policy and I'm teaching them the right way. But they are going into a situation where they can't do it the right way. There are not enough people there to even do it the right way.
Right.
So, that's a horrible position to be putting people in. And so I wrote that statement to them. And then they, like I say, they didn't even want to, bro, you should read that statement. That there was nothing even addressed from that statement. They with the ACA thing, and for all of y'all that are advocating for change and corrections, that's number one. ACA has got to go.
What
That
is
stuff's got to
PCA?
go. ACA is the American Correctional Association. It's
Well,
a dang, huh?
no. I was listening to a documentary somewhere, and that name came up. So,
Yeah,
but go ahead. Go ahead.
but that stuff came in 2017, man, and um we started changing our policies and stuff to be accredited by this organization in 2018. Okay, go get your AI and tell it, hey, give me the list of inmate deaths, suicides and homicides from 2014 to 2024. What you're going to see in that is a clear inflection point. 2018, stuff starts going up. From there, man, we went from in 2014, like I've already looked this list up and I've posted it too, a time or two. So I mean, I can send it to you, whatever. But you can just look at the list and
Look.
say, okay,
While
in
we're in the midst of
2014
this,
we have 5 deaths.
hold
Go
on.
ahead.
While we're in the midst of this, what is the name of your channel so that the people on this page right now they can subscribe so they can get? Because right now this is like a appetizer, but when they come to
Yeah.
your page, they gonna get some in-depth information. What's the name of
Yes. And
the
I'm
page?
I'm gonna be continuously putting out information on this. As long as the breath of life is still in me.
What's the
Or
name of
they
your
ain't not
page,
throwing me in
bro?
prison or something.
What's the name of your page?
K. My name on YouTube is Chase Chase
Uh-huh.
Ryle Ryal dash C7P. And that's just a thing, man. I ain't never put YouTube stuff, so I just kind of had this as a thing where I would watch YouTube,
Okay.
but that's my handle. I need to probably make like a name or something like that. Like, look, like I say, I'm just here because like I have enough knowledge to be able to speak on this honestly and be able to try to offer solutions. Like what we're saying, like you don't even know what ACA is. That's because
Right.
it's things like this that they don't even really they keep that stuff in the shadows, the stuff that really matters. Yeah, Chase Ryle C7P. Yeah. That's just
Yeah.
my middle name and then my last name without the S,
I'm gonna try to pull it up and put the link in there. Chase.
Okay, yeah. Stay out of prison. Yeah, I see it down on in the comments there.
Okay, is
You
that
got
the
my
so the
handle.
moderator Crystal put it up? Is that the correct? Is that let me see. Chase.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. I
Okay.
think the R might be capped in it, but either way, that'll take you to it.
I just want to make sure because I want people to subscribe and get more information because I think that the more people know what's this is just me. The more people that know what's going on, the better off we are. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
so let's see. Let's see. I want to make sure. Okay, so all right. So that's subscribe. Then I'm gonna share it. That is exactly how it is. Let me see. All right. And then I can share this like this. Give me a copy of the link. And then let's go in there. I just want to make sure. And then I want to pin it. Let me see. All right, bam. And then here we go. All right. Oh, that's the whole thing. Well, it is. Okay, so yeah, that was right. That's that C7P.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Crystal got it right. And I don't know if we can pin it at the top, Crystal, but that would be dope if we could pin it and
And
message.
thank you, Crystal, for your help. Thank you
Uh,
for thank you for what is that called when you have somebody do
moderator,
that? I guess
moderator,
moderating.
moderator.
Okay.
Yep.
How do I find people to do that? Like, do
So
people do that for a job or?
what'll take place is you'll start to see familiar names, and you'll have some people. We luckily tonight it hadn't been a whole lot of spamming or extra stuff going on, but you'll find somebody. God will
Yeah.
send somebody to you, and they will help you.
Yes.
But that's
Okay.
usually how that works.
It is.
So you just the acronym you used. You said that it was. You said AR. What was that? Did you just said
ACA, the
ACA?
American Correctional Association.
I think
It
I
is,
video on these people because go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
but the reason that they want to do this, and they are accredited now, even though they're not really, because they can't. Because, like I say, you're running prisons with nobody's following any kind of policy.
Right.
Maybe some like they might pick and choose. We want to follow this policy, but it's impossible to run the prison correctly. Like I say, people don't know these terminologies and stuff, but I'll say this: prisons have what are known as priority one post. Okay, that means that somebody needs to be at that post 24/7.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's Christmas, doesn't matter if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, like somebody, a security member is supposed to be there on scene,
Right.
on taking what is known as a post. Like they're posted there. Like this is your assignment, is this little spot. Just say, like, example with Telfair. Telfair, best of my memory, has 22 priority one posts. That means that we ain't even that's without even running the kitchen or none of that. That's without running visitation. These are priority, these are different priority. Like that you still have to supposed to have people there when you open it and stuff like that. But like stuff like the buildings, the control rooms,
Yeah.
the lockdown units, all this, they're supposed to obviously look, that's not, something shocking that there's supposed to be somebody there all the time.
Right. Right.
But if you got a prison that is supposed to, like, even major emergencies, you should never get down to below 22 people there. But they're there with one person or two. Okay. So imagine how many policies. It's hard to complete everything with 22 there because that's bare minimum. But with three, dude, you're talking about there are so many corners that have to get cut just to make it, just to
Right.
be able to, like I say, get everybody fed. Like people don't. I'm sure you probably understand, but look, man, if I like, let's just say I'm in a position like that, and I say, "Oh, I'm gonna go down here and get these door sheets done in lockdown," and then when I'm doing that, I don't have time to get feed off done, and then I start feed off an hour and a half late.
Hmm.
Man, I might start a whole dang riot behind that stuff,
Right.
man, without feeding these guys, or without giving them ice, or without. There's certain things like, man, we got to feed them. We
Right.
got to give them their bare minimums. We got to give them some medical access and stuff like that. So what ends up happening when you get down to such a bare skeleton crew is that that's all we're doing anymore. Is just make sure we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that this stuff don't go south out here, to make sure we keep everybody alive, make sure we keep everybody fed. And but you can't even do that because, like I say, man, you talking about a fifth of what's supposed to be bare minimum there. Not only that, like I'm saying, the standards have got so bad that nobody's held to any kind of PT standard. And look, man, I ain't saying that everybody needs to be a Navy SEAL, but if you're gonna say that you here as an emergency response member, then you should be able to respond to emergencies on a prison. All right, on a prison compound. Look, if something pops off and you're on an emergency response team, like you need to be in the physical condition to run down there and be
Yeah.
able to get
Yeah.
there in a good amount of time to where you can save people. Like I'm not doing people much good if I can't even jog.
Right.
Like
You
what am
know
I
what?
even doing?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the
Mhm.
scary part. I was reading some paperwork. The American Correctional Association is in, I guess, for lack of a better term, they're in bed with ALEC. ALEC is the American Legislative Exchange Council. Now, from afar, it looks like they just help out, but they are actually responsible for the 94 bill that Clinton pushed that calls for the three strikes and you're out legislation, and also the SB 440, which is the mandatory minimum. So then, and I'm looking as you, and when you're talking, it's just like I'm like, oh, okay, so that makes sense. And I was looking at, there's a documentary on Netflix called The 13th Amendment. And so they go deep off into all the different corporations that were sponsoring Alec. But it's scary that the people that benefit financially from incarceration, because at some point in time in the state of Georgia had to pay the private prisons a certain amount of money because they had
inmate.
a contract. That contract called for the population to be at a certain number. And because it was not there, the state of Georgia had to pay those private institutions. So I think that this is where it gets scary for me, because if you follow the money, you'll see what the real issue is. If,
Yes.
if they wanted to stop it, they could. But for wherever that money is, they're not a lot, and they're not afraid of anything. They're not afraid of anything. That scares me because
Bro, they got the lawyers. That's what this is all about too. I'm telling you, because like I say, I was a go-getter, man. I'm going on pounds like Valdosta at 21 and doing all this stuff. So I'm involved in a lot. The whole thing with ACA, because they started that around the same time that I was at Valdosta. Like I say, it's 2017 when they decided, yes, we're going to get accredited. And it was 2018 when they started saying, we're changing all these policies and we're rolling with this thing and we're really going to do this. Okay. When they started doing that, that was the word. Like there was so many staff that was so against this because it's, first of all, they're changing all the policies drastically.
Mhm.
Second of all, they're adding, it's like 400% more paperwork with some of these things than it used to be. So it's adding a lot of workload on. And you're talking about why we kept losing officers. This had a lot to do with it too. This had a lot to do with it because that's around during the same time that they're trying to push this thing. But anyway, my point of saying that is what they would bring up. Because like I'm somebody like I ask questions. So I asked that question to a bunch of people. Like, why are we doing this, man? This seems like a lot to go through with this ACA thing if we ain't really getting no benefit. And they'd be like, oh, it's all about the lawyers. When you get accredited to this, then it gives you like certain legal weight as far as where they can go in the courtroom and say we're a member of the ACA, and it gives them like pretty much a pass on certain things. And it's something that they can use as legality type stuff. Where if they get sued or something like that, and there's somebody trying to say, "Oh, they had these conditions like this," they say, "Oh no, we didn't. We got this ACA paperwork that says
Right,
nah, that it was all
right.
right."
And
It's
ACA
like,
55, 155-year-old institution, bro. Uh,
well, and here's another thing too. Dealing with ACA. I have never really dealt with ACA people themselves that much. So, look, maybe they're a good organization. I don't know. I know that the way that GDC deals with it is not good
right.
because, like I say, we're not even following those policies anyway. We can't. They upped the policy. We upped the amount of policy and stuff that we were supposed to be doing at the same time that we drastically went down in the amount of officers. So
Right,
imagine how that works. That's completely opposite from what
right,
from what you want to do. So no, a prison that's got 3 people there, a prison that's even got 15 people there, when it's got 22 supposed to be there minimum, can't run to
right,
policy. You at every moment that you below, just say at Telfair, every moment that you below 22, you are out of pocket. And that's just all it is to it. But places like Telfair have been below that since 2019, man. You're talking about years that these people's been in these positions. These prisons, it shouldn't have been passing no audit for years and years. But with the ACA, it's all literally just paperwork. And we're
right.
talking about mounds of paperwork. So all you have to, I mean, that's what they call something pencil whipping for a reason.
Yeah,
Like, you know, if a prison's saying they're passing an audit and they got 3 officers there, then you know, you already know what's up. Like, no, they ain't nobody. No, policy's not getting followed. No. If that's some kind of breaking news, and if some of my people, or ex people watching this, oh, he's telling the secret. What
yeah.
secret? It ain't no secret, man. We up in this joker. doing we up in here like what I'm talking about by ourselves, one, two people. Man, we having to think about what we gonna do if these guys try to take us captive. What am I gonna do if a joker roll up and stick me?
Yeah.
And I can't get the better of him. That's the stuff that we think about. We think about trying to survive through this thing, man. We're trying to think about how to, like I say, make sure everybody gets fed. Make sure I get this guy to medical that's having a medical problem or whatever it is.
Mhm.
You know, that policy, you you can't run a prison without people there to run it. And that's just all there is to it. And not only people there to run it, but competent
Right.
people that care, people that for certain things you need people that are like I'm saying that are willing to go up in with somebody that's gonna try to kill them. Like you need all different kind of people that's there, but you need those people. Like you can't just pull anybody off the street and say run the chain gang.
Right.
It don't work like that, man. It is a specific type of personality that it takes to be able to do certain things, and different personalities work good for different things.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But we
I
need to get those people and keep them in. The problem that they're having now is that the good people, the people that care, get pushed out because they see people. I don't like stuff like that.
right.
That stuff, seeing this dude that I was just talking to last week be dead in here in the dormitory.
Mm.
Oh man, that don't like I'm a tough guy. Like it ain't gonna make me like go harm myself or nothing like that. It ain't gonna make me snap or nothing, but it still affects my heart. Like really. And not only the inmates too, but the officers. Everybody's getting man, these officers, man, I'm telling you, the ones that come in and try, like what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, they really care about their job. This doing this stuff when it's like this really tears them up, man, because this ain't what you want.
Yeah.
You know,
I,
this
I
ain't.
think I think we'll our um motivation or just where we are as men is that we believe that humans are to be treated as humans. Uh,
Yes.
and it doesn't matter what color you are or what your religious beliefs are, that if you do things the way they're supposed to be done, then it affects everybody in the positive light. Because then I think about recidivism, which is the rate at which individuals return back to prison.
Back.
Georgia,
Mhm.
one of the highest rates of recidivism.
I
If this
wonder why.
if this system doesn't change, it's gonna get. Let me ask you this: if it keeps going the way that it is going, we know what today looks like. We know what yesterday
Yeah.
looks. What does tomorrow look like if there's not some type of drastic change?
Man, I don't want to speak bad things into existence. I'll be honest with you.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like the truth is just the truth. So I think that if something is not done, that we'll we'll be at high risk of having a mass casualty event. Okay, which means like these guys go to war up in this prison like this, and there ain't nobody there to even do anything, and you have a bunch of people that die. Okay,
Yeah.
look, we've already had a mass casualty event.
Well, yeah.
How
I mean,
many
we got about
inmates have been?
deaths this year.
Man, man, we in triple digits with both murders and suicides. Okay,
Mm,
but not only that type of stuff, but you're talking about officers that's getting hurt and stuff. That's happening. And so you're talking about later, like, man, I don't know how it could get too much worse. That I guess that's how, they just had some big gang war pop off and you wind up with 50 inmates dead in a day, which can happen.
which
This
can
can
happen.
happen now.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
can happen. Yeah, they have the weapons, they have the numbers. If two of these big gangs, or even if they ain't big, like man, these people in here with serious numbers.
Yeah.
And if we just don't step up and secure the prison and just let it keep like this, like that's inevitable at some point.
Yeah.
But dude, before I came in, they had a war with the Bloods and the GFs, the mob, the Goodfellas.
Good fella. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was so bloody and violent all over the state, but we had staff then,
Right.
and it really popped. Like that was the since I've been in, like there was never nothing that was quite that serious the whole time I was in, like where it was like statewide hit. It don't matter what pound you on, that the go signal is on. Like
Right.
that hadn't really happened. It happened a few times. Like we had a big incident in 2016 with the Bloods and the Ghostface that kind of went statewide, but wasn't nothing like the GF thing.
Right.
Man, if something like that GF thing that happened in whatever that was 2011, if something like that happened now, oh man,
It's gonna be
you're
bad.
talking about that's not going to be good because then we had the people to respond. We had, and even then, some of these dorms, it took hours to get them under control when the blood and GFs popped off. So imagine what you would do if you got two females on compound and these people really go to war like that.
It's gonna be a
Man, it's gonna be a bloodbath, man. But we've already had bloodbaths. Like, man, I done been up in dorms where there's so much blood that that's all you can smell is just blood, human blood. It's blood all over the walls. It's blood everywhere because, that's what happens when people start stabbing each other and using knives and stuff like that. But now it's even worse because, like you're saying, they got guns and stuff, man. I just posted a thing on Facebook for anybody that wants to see my Facebook or whatever. It's just my name, Tyler Riles, TYLERRYALS. You can look me up. I'm on Twitter too, Tyler Riles X. That's my handle. But I posted some pictures that Human Rights Coalition, Human and Civil Rights
right.
Coalition posted with that man, they got Rambo knives up in there.
I saw those. It was 3 different knives, but these
Yeah.
store bought
It's
knives.
real knives. Yeah. Look, a real knife, an edged weapon. Look, I'm a defensive tactics instructor and all this,
Yeah.
man.
So
Like,
you know.
and I've went against dudes with knives. Like, I
Yeah.
know I'm somebody that studies this stuff, especially while I was in it, because I didn't want to, I want to have the best chance I can if I have to go against somebody. So, like, an edged weapon is hundreds of percent more deadly than a shank. A shank ain't nothing compared to an edge weapon. A weapon with an edge on like that, every time that thing touches, it's cut, man. It
Yeah.
might cut a piece this big, and you just bleed out within a minute or two, man. What they're using now is mostly just homemade things with a point on them. You'll pretty much be all right as long as it don't hit an artery or don't
Yeah.
hit an
Yeah.
organ.
Yeah. Yeah.
It don't hit your heart or your lung, which I've seen a lot of guys get hit in the lung. You can go with one lung. You can get hit in the lung and still make it. As long as you don't get hit in both of them. But when you're talking about an edge weapon, if these guys get cut and there ain't nobody there to offer first aid,
It's over with.
man, yeah, it's gonna be over with. It probably already
Mm.
has. Like they done had whatever. I know for a fact one within the last couple days that got killed, and I think two. But there ain't no telling. I don't even think they probably wouldn't even tell us as far as the public. They wouldn't even tell us. They just say dude got stabbed. They wouldn't say if it was with a shank or not. You
Right.
know, and to me, we just have failed. We have, and that's what I was saying when I wrote the statement. Like,
Mhm.
look, we ain't doing nothing like we're supposed to be doing. Let's do something about it. I'm not with allowing this. It's too
Right.
much misery. It's too much death. It's too much. It's too much hypocrisy.
Right.
Okay, for me, we're claiming that we're completing the mission, but we're not. We don't have the people there to complete the mission. But that all goes back into not going along with the things that have us here. So, just like for example, that's how we brought up the whole ACA thing. So, in my statement, I I broke it down into three key issues. You know, I went through them and I gave an explanation of what's going on with each one. That was the first thing that I gave with was ACA, right? Because
Mhm.
that was like I'm somebody that recognizes like if I see a repeating thing a pattern, I can recognize it.
Right.
I can just recognize, like, hey, we had a lot of the pattern of our problems when they got exacerbated. Not that we didn't have problems before, because like I say, we had that stuff about also when I went down there to try to help fix it.
Mhm.
That was before ACA,
Right.
but stuff exploded with this ACA stuff. So I knew that that was a main problem. So anyway, when I'm listing that in a statement, the commissioner dude, he wouldn't even so much as mention that stuff. The HR lady that called me that was trying to tell me, "Oh, we're gonna put you at Hancock and all that." She was telling me because I talked with her before. She's the one that set up the Zoom call. She was telling me, "Oh, you might as well not even bring that up. They done spent millions of dollars to get to make sure that we're certified with ACA. They're not gonna go against that." And I'm just sitting here like, I don't care what we've spent on it. If
Right.
it has ran us to the point that we got people dying, and are in horrible conditions in the prisons, if these are the fruits that it has bore us, whatever, however the
Yeah,
terminology is, then it don't matter if we spent millions of dollars on it. Who spent millions of dollars anyway on it? We did, or the Georgia taxpayers did.
exactly.
You know, and what did they spend the money on? So essentially, what you're looking at now is that over the past several years, the Georgia taxpayers have paid millions to run the prisons into what they are now. Essentially, you're paying for the desolation
Mm,
of the prisons because they are, I'm talking about, you can't question it. That's the thing. And I knew that. Like when I wrote my statement, the lady that was working in the bill with me, I told her, I was like, look, this is gonna be it. Like I'm telling you, like it's a low chance that they even gonna try to hear me out.
right,
They are gonna want to get rid of me because I'm talking crap about this ATA thing. But it's the truth. I don't care if they don't like it. It's the truth. We are not ACA certified. I don't care what they say. Everybody knows that. There was a lady that commented on a comment that I made on the Human Rights Coalition page saying
mhm,
that they had been told directly by ACA auditor, you will not fail. If we find something in there that's wrong, we'll have you pencil, we'll have you fill it in, and then we'll put it in the file and you'll pass. And I already know that because look, man, I've been involved.
right,
I know this. Most of the time I was too involved in like facility operations to where like when the audit was going on, I'd be out there running chow or something like that,
right,
So I didn't deal with the auditors that much, but I know what's up. Like, especially when I'm like what I'm talking about when you got a prison with 3 officers. Like Johnson State Prison, for example. If they a thing on there saying they pass the audit, which there is, then obviously people are doing this with the pencil whip and stuff because it's impossible to run it to standard anyway,
gotcha.
especially when we're supposed to be going under this ACA standard, which
Right,
is even higher. The ACA policies are additions to our policies.
right,
It's not a thing that we have to do. It's a thing that we do that supposedly do above, and then we get recognition for that from
right. It's
this
supposed to be
agency.
the golden standard is what
Yeah,
it's
it's supposed to be like the golden standard type thing,
yeah,
you know. But when you really get to looking into things and like you say, when you follow the money, then you get to the real root of this thing. And I'm just not with stuff like that. I don't care. Look, we got people that are suffering for real. These
yeah,
people are suffering. All these people that are in there. The
right.
only people that ain't suffering
That,
are the dirty staff, the ones that are racking it up,
yeah,
that don't have no kind of moral character,
yeah,
and the gangbanger inmates that's really running that. But even them ain't even they ain't getting out good because they getting killed.
yeah.
But everybody involved, really except the dirty staff, is just down bad. Like really.
Let me ask you this because don't you guys have like some type of code where the information that you are exposing to the public, you're not supposed to say anything?
You're not if I'm still employed, then I wouldn't be able to do this. I
Okay.
would get fired. But so it's the truth. But I don't care. Obviously, I don't care about getting fired with all this. When they said that to me, and I did, I know I might have expected them to have some pushback against me,
Yeah,
but I didn't expect them to not even want to address anything. Like, dude, man, I know what I'm talking about. Like, I didn't write that letter like just being like I'm just doing something on the fly. Like,
yeah,
man, I spent like a couple days making sure that I put the right things in that letter and that the letter was truthful and all this stuff.
right.
Like, I'm not doing this half cocked
Yeah,
type of thing.
right.
So when they came back and didn't even want to talk about it or nothing, they was just like, "Are you want to stand by this? Like, you mean this?" And I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
I do." They was like, "Oh, well, they said you got 2 options. You can resign or get fired." I was like, "Do your paperwork." That was my exact terminology. "Do the paperwork. Let's do it." Because my thing was, what I'm saying is true. What was said in that statement is true.
right,
They are not supposed to be doing the things that they're doing now. So I stand on what I say. I'm not gonna quit because you threaten me.
right.
And then And then when the lady got that up there and when she read the statement, that's how I ended up. Most people, man, when they quit, they don't get to talk with the assistant commissioner and all
Right.
this.
Right.
You know, the only reason I got that is because that lady in HR read it and was like, "Oh man, dude, we're gonna be in a situation when we fire this guy." You
Mm.
know, because he knows what he's talking about in the
Right.
statement. And like she was telling me, "Oh, it's at Washington. We didn't know that they were sending female only escorts to the hospital. Man, they doing this stuff statewide." But
Yeah.
she's putting me like that. Like, "Oh, they didn't know that. Well, I'm gonna get you to talk to the assistant commissioner and we're gonna see if we can get this straightened out." And then, like I say, when I had the meeting, man, you know, but that's the thing. These people are like the commissioner himself. Think about it this way. We're talking
Mm.
about how corrupt ACA is and how
Mm.
it's all part of the thing. Dude, the commissioner is on the board of the ACA.
That's gangster.
How is that not a conflict of interest? You're on the board of an agency that we, as Georgia Department of Corrections, have spent millions of dollars. She ain't lying when she says that. We have spent millions of dollars to try to become accredited by this agency. And we got the commissioner who is on the board of that. So if ACA is a major problem, which I say it is, and I
Yeah.
say that from my experience inside the prison, and you got the leadership who is in bed with them and will not tolerate any kind of dissidence from them. Like you can't buck on ACA, you can't say
Right.
nothing against ACA.
Right.
Obviously, you you can't even say nothing against it if you come with your facts
Right.
when you do bring it up. You know, so now you're looking at a situation where I don't even know what to call that, dude. It's like, oh, and I knew that's why I say like I knew that when I sent it. I was like, man, they about to ain't no telling what's about to happen. But man, that statement scared them so bad, man, they didn't even want to talk to me. They was all I sent it to several people.
Mm.
And that most of them wouldn't even want to talk to me. And then when they did get on the phone with me, it was like what I'm saying. Are you serious? You know, these are
Yeah.
people that I've been working with for years,
Yeah.
but they know what's up. You know, I ain't even blaming them necessarily. Like people in the state, they know what's up. They know that they can't question ACA. They know it, not publicly. They might, or not to management. They might can talk with one another and
Hmm.
stuff like that and say, dang, man, we hate that this stuff done got this bad. Yeah, it was ACA when all this stuff started going down. But they can't raise the issue and say, when are we going to try to change course on any of this? They can't say it because the same thing will happen to them like happened to me. They'll tell you behind, hey, you need to quit or you about to be fired. And then when you call their bluff, they just turn around and say that you resign anyway, just
Right.
so they can have it, you know. So, and of course, yeah, they didn't even let me. That's true. They didn't let me write a resignation letter because they know what I was going to do. I was finna write a letter even better than the last one I just submitted, you
Mm.
know. But you didn't even get the opportunity to do that. They wouldn't even talk to me. They shut my phone off, man. I'm talking about, dude. Man, when I told them that, when they found out that they was not going to be able to change my perspective on this, they shut my phone off and everything. Couldn't even email them no more or nothing.
Mm.
And look, I'm good with that. It is what it is. You know, it is what it is. I am A lot of inmates used to say the ones that I respected a lot, and the ones that would come down to the hole, and I was a hole officer, and I'll come to the door and I ask them if they're affiliated, and about when trying to put a roommate in the cell with them. And that some of the old school guys, they would look at me and they would say, "Man, you know better than to ask me some stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I never sell my soul. Like
Yeah.
I'm a man before I'm anything. Like that's my mentality too.
Right.
I never sell my soul, man.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to I'm gonna do the right thing or I'm gonna do the wrong thing, and the wrong thing can get me some more money and can get me a sweet position like that. I mean, I didn't have to go in there no more.
Right.
But at a certain point, man, when I'm seeing this and nobody's wanting to speak up, everybody's so scared, then if somebody's gonna do it, then I'll do it. It'd be okay.
Right.
Okay, if I'm gonna be in a position where nobody's gonna say what needs to be said, and that's how I started the statement. Like, look, I say this with a heavy heart and all, and I don't wish y'all nothing but success, but things need to be said, and here it is. These are things that have been needed to be said for years, but
Mm.
everybody's too scared to say it. And just them doing what they did to me behind that proves that they was right to be scared. Like
How can we get a
they
copy of that letter that you sent to them?
it's on my Facebook and it's on my Twitter.
Uh,
So either one of those, I posted it not that many days ago, another copy. I posted that was my first thing that I really did as far as publicly was several months ago. I posted that saying like, hey, this is the statement. Cause dude, man, they went and said, because I know people all over the state. Because I've been at 5 different prisons at one point
right.
or another, and I was just something I didn't even put in the thing when you asked me for my, like my history and all. Like I was a TAC commander too at Telfair when I was at the same time I was supervising the tier unit at Telfair. That second time I was there, I was a TAC commander too. So I'm going all over the state. I done been all over almost ain't a prison I haven't been in Georgia. So I
Wow.
know a lot of people. But
Yeah.
anyway, after I left, man, how about they wouldn't, first of all, they wouldn't let nobody read my statement. Even people that was high up in management. I know that because I know people, like I say, and they was like, hey, we asked, and they was like, no, you can't read it, type of thing.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, I sent it to them, I don't mind, but that just shows you that they're really scared of their own staff seeing what they're doing. But they went and told, and I ain't gonna, put no names and all that on it with this because this is just something that people are telling me. So I don't know. It could be true, could not be true. I'm just saying allegedly right now. But
Mhm.
allegedly, after I left, they went and told people that I joined a cult and I went crazy and that I was like having a religious moment and all that. And that I was talking crazy and then that they fired me and this and that, making it seem like that I didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah, I had a religious moment, all right,
Yeah.
but I had my religious moment years ago. Like I came to Christ years ago. So I've been trying to walk with Jesus.
Right.
And that's part of this. Like, yeah, it somewhat, yeah. I mean, I did have a religious moment. I
Yeah.
decided that my soul was at risk
Mm,
by being in the
mm,
position where
mm.
I have something that I think is righteous to do, which is call for us to finally do something about this. And like I'm saying, man, because when I said that earlier that the commissioner can do it tomorrow, he can. There's enough positions that are outside. There's a bunch of investigators. There's a bunch, even him and them, all them, they could get up. They post certified. That all them people at TF, we can shut all that down. We ain't got no business running. Why would we be having a specialized training thing where we got people up there on campus and we're teaching them, I don't know, just for an example, fire safety or something like that, or something like that's needed, and we got that goes on. But there's no reason we should be doing a specialized class for all kind of people while we got 3 people on post in the prison.
Mm.
Is or is not the responsibility of the Georgia Department of Corrections to secure the prisons. If that's not their responsibility, then maybe they shouldn't bring people in there. But if that's their responsibility, then they should use the full power of what they can do to pull them people in. Now, past that, something can be done. But even if you didn't do that, like they could have called in the National Guard. They could
Yeah.
have did a lot of different things. You could pull in, like, for me, I'm kind of halfway against going for federal stuff just because okay, these inmates are state inmates, right?
Right.
They're all from Georgia,
Right.
most of them. You
Yeah.
got some that's from different places and all.
Mm.
Um, when you got people that's from Georgia, other people from Georgia are gonna be able to converse and be able to understand them a lot better. It just is what it is. That's
Right.
culture. Like you
Right.
were saying earlier, it's not about black and white, and it's not about race and all that. It's not, but stuff like that actually does come into play.
Right.
Like you can't take somebody from New York and throw them in at Telfair and expect for this stuff to go well. Like they're so different in the way that they view things
Yeah.
and the slangs that they use and all this that doing stuff like that just really don't work out that good.
Right.
Like you really need people from Georgia.
Right.
Like that would be the best thing to have. It's people from Georgia because we all essentially got the same type of accent. We can talk to each other, and we all grew up around each other. Even if it wasn't me and you, like me and you grew up around similar people. Like
Right.
you've seen people like me, just like I've seen people like you. Like the way we talk, the way we do everything is a certain way, and it's just good to have people from the place you're at, especially when you're talking about security, because you know That's just the way that I look at it, and I think that that's a smart way to look at it. Right.
I wonder
Not,
if attention was brought to all the things that have happened in GDC up under this American Correctional, up under the ACA, up under
Mhm.
their golden uh standard. And
Well, like I say, you can see the numbers. Just know that 2018, that's when like we started getting audited by them. Okay, it was
when
2018.
did you guys have that? There was a two officers lost their lives, two inmates, two white
Yes.
inmates escaped.
Hmm.
What prison was that at, and what year was it?
I don't remember the prison that they were leaving from right off the hand. I do know that it was on a transport bus. They were
Right,
transporting. And that whole situation was crazy because that inmate, the one that planned it, he was at Telfair. Like I knew this guy. The one that not the one that shot the officers.
right. The other
The
one.
one that the one that had the young guy with him. Like the
Yeah,
older guy, he was at Telfair with when I was there the first time. The whole time I was there. He was the head AB guy or whatever.
okay,
So he was there. We caught him with planning to escape at Telfair. Okay, because that was a whole big thing behind that whole situation. But you know, God rest those people's souls, man. They lost their life that day, and just maliciously, like them dudes just killed them in there. They didn't even have to do that. So,
right,
but at the same time, there was so many things that happened with that incident that was preventable. That that, but I will say this now in response to that, the GDC did do a fairly good job with correcting that issue after our officers got killed.
right,
Okay, but that's the whole thing with them, and that's a common thing, like where they're reactive instead of proactive. You know, but they since then, like we've got a lot better with how we train and how we tend to our transport officers because there was a lot of things that happened there, and I ain't gonna go through them all here because I don't want to, I
yeah,
don't want the families to have to be like,
right,
oh, everybody knows what's up with that whole
right,
situation.
right.
You know, it's sad that it happened, but at the same time, it was totally and utterly preventable from so many different levels that it's just unreal.
Mhm,
And they have ameliorated that. I'll give them that credit, because
right.
we do like specialized training with them now and stuff like that. So they're a lot better prepared for that. But yeah, that was in 2017. So that was as we're starting
Um,
ATA.
okay,
Okay. And then 2018 and on, we're getting audited. And I don't think the last prison got audited until maybe 2021 or so. Because they don't, with ACA, they don't even have to audit, but once every like 3 years or something like that. And then the in between years, it's like a um it's like a state audit. So that's like it's like we audit ourselves type of thing.
got you. Now, at some point in time, if I'm remembering it correctly, a warden was arrested for I don't know whatever came of this case of anything has happened, but a warden was arrested. I think this was at Smith State Prison.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Mhm. He
What?
got arrested behind a whole bunch of stuff. I need to look into that too and put out something on it because I knew about the situation when it happened, but I hadn't got no updates on it or nothing like that. But I do know that I'm not saying that he did do it because I don't know if he's been convicted of the crime. But what
Right.
was said was that he was involved with YSL, which is like a set of of bloods, I think
Yeah.
that YSL.
I'm not.
And yeah, it's a gang.
Yeah.
YSL, I know it used to be that it's a different thing, man. East St. Laurent, somebody would say that, but then
Yeah.
sometimes Young Slime Life or some
Right.
other times stuff like who knows what it means. It's a gang that he was involved with allegedly, and the the captain there was like catching on to a lot of things. Next thing you know, the captain's neighbor, or it might not even been the captain, it might have been a lieutenant. It was somebody that was high up there. Their
Hmm.
neighbor got rolled up on and shot and killed. Okay. When they caught the guy that killed the neighbor, I guess he told him like, look, I was doing a hit on such and such, and it just come to find out he got the wrong house. Like he killed the neighbor instead of the supervisor that he was supposed to
Mm,
be killing. You know, so that was that whole thing, and then there was some stuff behind some drugs with it and stuff like that. That they got arrested too. But yeah, I mean that's real, man. When you're in a place like a prison, I mean you're gonna have people that, like I say, that they're not there for the right reasons.
right, right,
And they're doing stuff like this, and people that are there for the right reasons, that puts them in big danger. You know, like
yeah.
somebody like me under him, he would have had a hit out on me too,
No,
probably,
for real.
because like I'm not with none of that. Never
Yeah,
have been.
yeah,
You know, I see that as, some people see, oh, I can make some money, and I just see that as like dishonorable, man. And I'm kind of with the inmates on the death before dishonor type thing.
right.
I'm not gonna do that. I came here. I said that I was gonna come and take this role and do what I was supposed to do and try to do right. Now, does that mean that I've been perfect and that I ain't never did nothing wrong, or that I ain't never, you know, been a little too harsh or something like that? No,
Mhm,
but I'm there trying to do what
right,
I'm supposed to do. All right.
right.
I'm not there trying to do no evil scheme or none of that. Like I
Mhm,
couldn't do it, man. I couldn't sleep good at night. Like I really try to make sure that I can live with what I do. Like,
right.
and certain things like that, like man, I just would look at myself as, dishonorable. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. It just is what it is.
It's dope to look at yourself in the mirror because a lot of people can't
Yeah,
do it. And
yeah,
at one time in my life, I was just like, man, I don't like this. But
yeah.
when we upright, man, right is right. Um, so we're creeping up into the, you got hair on your face,
We've been going for a
that gray
while,
hair.
haven't we?
Yeah, I got some of that gray hair, so my coffee
Yeah.
is involved. But what I want to do is, I definitely want us to follow up. But you are making me go do my research, which I love to do. I'm gonna go see what's going on with this because I want to kind of do a timeline as to what's going on, who sits on this board, how much money are they actually getting, and in my mind, I think that if the goal is to bring awareness to the truth, then you don't have to keep
Mhm.
going forth. The truth is going to be the truth, and if you're looking for the truth, you'll eventually find it.
Yeah.
But we on the same page in reference to we believe that humans are to be treated like humans, whether it
Oh
be
yeah.
somebody trying to get their life together or somebody trying to put food on their table and make it home. I think that all
Yeah.
humans are treated like humans, and so however I can help you out, man, just let me know. We'll talk off air, but the people that are on, I need for you to go subscribe. Like I say, same thing I tell you when anybody else is on this page, man. I've given you the sizzle, but if you want to get some of that uncut, you got to go to his page. Crystal has highlighted the page and posted it there. Is Chase. I'm gonna spell it out: CHASERYAL-C7P. Go subscribe. Go subscribe. We will be coming back live on here, but you need to go to that channel, subscribe, get in the comment section. Let's help them get that
Yeah,
algorithm.
look, I encourage anybody too. If you have a family member or if you have experienced this thing yourself and you want to put something there that's gonna be there where people can look at it, look, put it in the comment section. I invite you. Look, I'm not gonna go in there and block nobody or none of that unless you come in on some sideways stuff or
Yeah,
something like that. You
yeah,
talking about, I'm gonna come kill you or something, man.
yeah,
I might block
yeah,
you or something because I just don't want to see stuff like that. But if you want to come kill me, I'm not that hard to find.
right,
You know. Well, look, but don't be talking about that. Nobody wants to see all that. The other people don't want to see that. We need to
right,
try to better the world. Like we're saying, we're trying to have people get on a betterment path. So long as you own some stuff like that, like I want you in the comments. I want to hear your
right,
story
right.
because this stuff got to the point, man, where I seen so much stuff like what I'm talking about with this guy getting raped
Mhm.
that there's a lot of people out there that have been through this over these last several years from both sides, from all now, and I got all kind of officers and stuff reaching out. I got like 5 former lieutenants that wanna come on and do with me.
Really?
Yeah, because you gotta think too, like you were saying with not that many people wanting to do nothing. Well, the courage works, uh, it spreads once it starts. So, it if it takes me starting it and with a bang and doing what I do, and then
Yeah,
giving the other people the courage to say, "Hey, come too." And look, are they gonna come after me? Probably. They like the
yeah,
guy that you was just talking to. They locked him up, and he seemed like one of the like when I watched that whole conversation with with the guy,
yeah,
and I really liked it. Like
yeah,
I can tell that the man knows what he's talking about, and he has a moral character and all that. And look,
Yep.
they even locked him up. So they ain't no telling what these folks gonna do to me. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come on, and I'm gonna act in good faith, and I'm gonna do whatever I think is right. As far as what I'm saying, if something that I say ends up being not true, then I'll come back and correct that. It is what it is. But
Right.
I'm not on here trying to lie. But I look, there's something needs to be done. These conditions have got to the point to where I'm not willing to even though I'm out of it now,
Right. Right.
and even though I did say my piece before I left,
Yeah.
at this point, I'm still hearing from people in there, and I'm still seeing these things. And it's an upgraded to another point to where now I can't even stay silent publicly.
Right.
Okay, if I got to do whatever I got to do, then I just got to do it, man. I am gonna do everything I can to get this done. I know you probably got people that that's in there, and you got family members, and there's a lot of people that's gonna watch this that do. Look, y'all, we as Georgia, anyway, I can't speak for other states. We
Hmm.
can do a lot better than this by our people, man. They don't
Right.
have to be coming out of here like this.
Right.
They don't have to be coming out here like this as the officers. They don't have to be coming out here like this as as the inmates. They
Hmm.
don't have to be getting killed in there as the officers or the staff or the inmates. None of this stuff has to be going on.
Right.
Basic things need to be done. The people who are in power are entangled in things like what I'm talking about, where they're simultaneously doing two things and they got money stuff involved and they got politics involved and all this, which should never be involved in running a prison.
Hmm.
That needs to be corrected, and we need to get the prison secure, which is not a hard thing to do at all. It's
Right.
not. Look, let's get us some people. Let's get us some people like the man, Mr. Hill,
Hmm.
and about 30 of the other of him, which
Yeah.
they are around, and
Yeah.
it's easy to notice them when you see them.
Yeah.
Put them in charge of these prisons, and let's get it under control.
I wonder if I can get you two guys on the segment together.
I would love to speak with him. You know.
We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna talk,
If you
man.
can set that up, I'll speak with him.
That'll
Did he
be
get the position? Have they already voted?
no. He's running. You know what? I had to check because they just had elections a couple of days ago. But I had to check because he's not in my district, so I wasn't able to vote for him. But he would have
Okay.
got a vote. I would have voted for him. I would have voted
Yeah.
for him, but he's not in my.
That's how you can tell. That's how you can tell that he's uh that he's probably on the right track is that they're after him like that.
Yeah.
Like, look, the Holy War, the real struggle ain't. I'm with Cat Williams. The race and all this is not where the line is drawn. All right.
Right.
You got God's side. You got people that try to do like what I'm talking about,
Yep. Yep.
that
Yep.
try to make sure that they can sleep with themselves at night.
Yep.
And then you got the other side that
Yep.
don't care nothing. They seek death and desolation.
That's it.
And you got people that operate like that. You got people that allow that spirit to operate through them.
Yeah.
So you got those two sides, and that's just what it is. Me personally, I can usually recognize it when there's really a good because I'm used to looking at I'm used to sizing men up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Inmates and officers.
Yeah.
Not sizing them up like I'm trying them up, but I'm just used
Oh,
to
you got
watching for.
times.
I'm used to watching for competence in men. I
Yeah.
like competent men.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, some people say, "Oh, men don't like other successful men. They get jealous." Men ain't like that. Men ain't like women with stuff like that. And I ain't talking no women, but y'all jealous on
Yeah.
one another a lot.
Right.
Me personally, the more competent, upright men that I can have around me, the better. I love it. I want me a team of 9 of Mr. Hills. Do
Yeah.
you know what you can do with 9 of that?
Yeah.
Man, you can have, and that ain't bad for the inmates either, because these people are gonna be moral. They're not gonna, dude, I ain't never beat on no dude in handcuffs, none
Mhm.
of that. Because that goes back to the same situation. Like even if I was put in a position where that was something that I was tempted to. Like, man, I would look at myself as dishonorable by
Right.
doing that.
Right.
I'm just not gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do nothing like that. And neither are nobody like that. Like that's when he was saying that about the restraint chair. I was thinking like, I guarantee you he's telling the truth. Them dudes probably was talking. They needed to go in the chair. So what? It's okay. You just going in a chair, man.
Yeah.
When I was hearing that whole situation, I was like, man, dude, They locked this dude up for putting people that was belligerent in a
What
chair,
happened was he
not
pissed
hurting
somebody
them or
off.
nothing, putting them in a padded chair and just like stuff like that. You have a choice, right? Like,
Yeah.
and somebody tells them too, because I used to do the same thing. Like before you get locked up, because like you're saying, 13 come around, somebody about to go to the hole. I would tell these guys, like, look, you don't have to go this way. You can do this, or we're gonna maintain order and you're gonna be relocated.
Mhm.
Okay. But one or the other, but that's not nothing bad on the inmate. You can't just let people get belligerent and stuff. That's when you get people start getting killed.
Right.
Because now stuff starts popping off, especially when you're looking at, having these gang populations be so high. Like, you don't want nobody running around. If they are belligerent, then somebody needs to calm down in some way. They liable to pop this whole pound off at this point,
Right.
running around, trying to start stuff with people.
Hmm.
So, I mean, you have to have something to do with people like that. I mean, they get that way.
Right.
And whatever we do with them, look, we don't need to beat on them or nothing like that. Now I've been because of the sheer number of stuff that I've been in. Like, I've had all that done to me, and I've done all that to people too.
Hmm.
Except for the throwing feces and all that.
Right.
But most of the time, if there was any way possible, I would use something like pepper spray or use a taser or something because when you're using when men get to putting hands on one another, like people get hurt, it just is
Right.
what it is,
Right.
and I don't want to hurt them and I don't want to get hurt either,
Right.
so, but that's the kind of mentality that people are going to have if they're thinking tactfully and all that. The only time that you get people that end up beating on an inmate or doing something like that is people that can't control themselves.
Right.
They don't have any self-control.
Right.
So they get a little mad about something and then it just blow it out of proportion. So when an inmate spits in their face, instead of grabbing them and putting them on the ground, like you can do, which is good, they haul off and start, just beating
Yeah.
them or something.
Making it
And
work.
like as the officer, we can't do that. So that's why you have to, like he said, you got people that are what they are. You need to find those people and use them in the prisons. But the situation they find themselves in now is like I'm saying, where they've made the conditions where people like that can't stay, not and stay sane. Like I couldn't stay sane no more because this stuff was bothering me, man.
Right.
It bothers me to see this stuff and to know that it ain't got to be this way,
Right.
and to have leadership just sit there and keep going ACA, ACA. You better not question it or we'll fire you. It's
Right.
like, man, I'll buck stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I have that right. I'm an American citizen. I've never been convicted of a crime.
Right.
I can buck if I want to buck, especially if it's righteous.
If it's the right thing to do,
Especially if y'all really are doing this, y'all really do got these people down here like this. I know because I've been there. I've seen it.
hey man,
These guys
I'm,
really are in these conditions.
I'm with you, man.
So
However I can help, man, expose and just get the truth out there, man. Because you got love, you got people who got loved ones behind the wall, both in the white and both in the blue.
yeah,
And they all want these people to come home safely, man. So I think
yes,
we're on the same page, brother. Um, I'm on log off now. I appreciate you. Everybody go to the page that Crystal has highlighted. And I don't know if we can get back on tomorrow. I'll give you a call tomorrow, man, and see what's coming up. But I'm gonna do I got a homework assignment, man. I'm gonna see what's going on with this ACA, man, and I'm gonna follow the money. I'm gonna follow the
yeah.
money
Follow the money. That's
and see
where
what's but
that's what it all boils down to, isn't it?
yeah, your niche is your truth. You don't have to. I don't have to tell you this, but you don't have to waver from it, brother.
Yeah, I
You
know.
try, you're just a human trying to help another human, man, and I
Oh,
support
tens of thousands of other humans. You know what I'm saying?
that.
Like this is tens of thousands of people that are suffering behind all this stuff.
Right,
You know, so it is what it is. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll come and I'm glad you reached out, and I'm glad that you're the first guy to reach out as far as like a big channel, you
right,
know, or like a YouTube channel and all. Like I speak with anybody who's honest, who's wanting to, who doesn't want things to be this way.
right.
Like, so thank you for having me. I thank you for being cordial. You're a good interviewer, so good job as far as that goes. Thank you all to who listen,
Yep.
and if you're in Georgia anyway, like I just encourage you to get involved in this because there there has never been a thing that I've known of that's like this cut and dry
Hmm.
like that. Who is over here saying there ain't nobody saying that nothing needs to be done except the Department of Corrections?
Right.
All of us, anybody of good faith, is saying that. So when you're in a position like that, then use that to get something done. Okay. So I'll get whatever done I can, and the more people I have that are also with it, then the better chance we'll have of getting something done. So again, thank you for having me,
Yeah.
and have a good night, brother.
All right, bro.